Chapter 161. Heaven-Slaying Sword-Drawing Technique. Chu Kuangren's calm voice formed a strong contrast with the majestic Emperor technique, shocking everyone at the scene. The majestic purple sword ray contained an emperor's aura that gushed out. Wherever the sword chi passed, the void shook violently as if it was about to explode. The Ashura sect's elder sect master, who was targeted by the sword, felt extremely uneasy in the face of such unprecedented power. The Ashura avatar. He roared as he channeled the spiritual power in his body into the avatar to unleash a slash. The saber ray and the purple sword ray collided, and the majestic sword ray almost crushed the saber ray in a crushing manner. The Ashura avatar had no way to defend against this attack. The moment it came into contact with the sword ray, its Taoist rhymes and spiritual power instantly disintegrated and exploded into spiritual power turbulence. The sword ray was unstoppable as it engulfed the Ashura sect's elder sect master. His armor cracked and shattered under the sword ray. No! With a scream, the Ashura sect's elder sect master's body was torn into pieces by the sword chi, and a large amount of blood sprayed out. Chu Kuangren raised his hand and activated the gluttonous devouring technique, sucking the Ashura sect's elder sect master's body into the avarice dimension to refine his flesh and blood essence. The flesh and blood essence of an honorable supreme was a great tonic. After killing the Ashura sect master, the sword ray smashed onto the ground, and everyone in the capital city felt the ground shake. As dust and smoke rose, everyone saw a huge crack that was thousands of meters long and hundreds of meters deep in the ground. It was like a canyon. The forest that was there had long been destroyed. What a terrifying sword technique! Oh my God! Is this the power of an emperor technique? It's so powerful that an honorable supreme was killed with a single slash. Rumor has it that Chu Kuangren sparred with a sage and created an emperor technique. It seems like it's true now. What kind of monster is he? We have no chance of winning. Chu Kuangren's single slash had shocked the demonic cultivators so much that they did not dare to resist. All they wanted was to leave this place as soon as possible. Unfortunately, King Qian was leading an army, and he had the help of Honorable Qinglan and Old Lady Meng. These demonic cultivators could not escape at all. At that moment, several figures rushed out from the spatial crack not far away. These people were the cultivators who had taken advantage of the chaos to enter the mystic realm with the intention of snatching the demon heart. Zhao Wujin was also among them. Seeing him come out, the Chakra King, who was not far away, was delighted. Wuji, have you got the demon heart? The demonic heart has already disappeared. Someone beat us to it. Zhao Wujin's expression was unsightly. The Chakravarti King and the rest of the demonic cultivators were not much better. They had gone through so much trouble to obtain this demonic heart, but now someone had gotten it before them. This made them feel like vomiting blood. This was especially the case for the Ashura sect's Grandmaster. Not only was the old Grandmaster dead, his demon heart was gone as well. This was truly a case of going for wool and coming home shorn. Leave! The Chakravarti King forced the seventh forefather to retreat with a single finger. He then pulled Zhao Wujin along and was about to leave the scene. However, a large amount of sword chi gathered in the air and formed 12 long pillars of sword chi. It was the 9-heaven sword prison anomaly. None of the demonic cultivators who came here today shall leave this place alive, Chu Kuangren said coldly. He, who had just killed an honorable supreme, had an ice-cold killing intent circulating around his body. All the demonic cultivators present were terrified. Under the encirclement of King Qian and the others, the number of demonic cultivators continued to decrease. Only a few experts were still struggling to hold on. Kill Chu Kuangren first, then break the 9-heaven sword prison, the Ashura sect's sect master shouted as he led a group of demonic cultivators towards Chu Kuangren. Although they knew that they had no chance of winning, it was the only thing they could do. The weakest of the demonic cultivators who were charging towards Chu Kuangren was at least an honorable realm cultivator. Not to mention honorables like the Ashura sect's sect master and the Euphoria sect's sect master. Even a normal battle monarch would be scared to death in the face of such a powerful aura. Unfortunately, their opponent was Chu Kuangren. Phantom light strike. No one could see how Chu Kuangren moved. All they saw was a ray of light flashing in front of them. Then, they felt a terrifying force erupt from their bodies, almost shattering their flesh and bones. That was the power of the human mountain stamp. Boom, boom, boom. A ray of light moved swiftly within the group of demonic cultivators, sending them flying one by one. Those who were lightly injured spat out blood, while those who were severely injured were directly blasted into a cloud of blood mist. Not long after, more than 10 honorable demonic cultivators were all beaten to the ground, unable to resist at all. Gluttonous devouring technique. Chu Kuangren revealed himself, and a pitch-black cave appeared in the middle of his palm like the mouth of a giant beast. One by one, the demonic cultivators were sucked into the cave and refined. How can he be so terrifying? Not far away, Zhao Wujin's face turned pale when he saw what happened. He had improved a lot in the past 3 years, and he initially thought that he had closed the gap between him and Chu Kuangren. However, from the looks of it now, the gap was getting bigger and bigger. You who slipped through the net 3 years ago, you shall die too. Chu Kuangren's gaze suddenly fell on Zhao Wujin. Zhao Wujin's heart skipped a beat, and he hurriedly channeled his spiritual power to maximize his Taoist physique strength. Supreme demonic physique. Desolate heaven fist. A powerful Taoist rhyme erupted as he threw out a punch. That attack was not much weaker than an honorable's attack, but Chu Kuangren only needed to gently slap his palm to instantly shatter that Taoist rhyme. That horrifying power terrified Zhao Wujin, and he hurriedly begged the Chakra King for help. Teacher, please save me. However, when the 9 Heaven Sword prison was cast, the Chakra King was occupied by the 7th forefather and could not spare any time to save Zhao Wujin. Chu Kuangren turned into a stream of light and appeared in front of Zhao Wujin. He immediately slammed his palm onto the top of Zhao Wujin's skull, and the horrifying palm energy crushed his meridians, bones, and flesh completely. Then, he unleashed the gluttonous devouring technique. Before his opponent could even scream, he was sucked into the avarice dimension and refined. Moreover, he realized that although Zhao Wujin's cultivation was not as strong as those honorables, the blood and flesh essences that he refined were far superior to those honorables. Is it because of the supreme demonic physique? Compared to cultivation, physique factors are more likely to affect the effects of the gluttonous devouring technique. Chu Kuangren figured it out after some thought. Wujin. The Chakra King's eyes were bloodshot when Zhao Wujin was killed. After all, Zhao Wujin was the successor that he had painstakingly chosen. But now, Chu Kuangren had killed him without even leaving a corpse behind. Chu Kuangren, you said that we're demonic cultivators. But your actions are more like demonic cultivators than we are, absorbing other people's blood and flesh essences to increase your cultivation. If word of this gets out, you'll no longer have the face to call yourself a righteous cultivator. The Chakra King roared. However, Chu Kuangren did not care at all. Those words alone could not shake his Taoist core. Techniques don't control people, but people control techniques. In your hands, this is a demonic technique, but in my hands, it's a demonic weapon. Chu Kuangren said calmly. After refining more than 10 honorables, and even supreme honorables, his aura was steadily rising. He had broken through a small realm and reached the Battle Monarch realm. *MN. The Chakra King's expression was extremely ugly. With the 7th forefather and Chu Kuangren behind him, he had no chance of winning this battle. Chapter 162. Chu Kuangren. Let's die together. The Chakra King growled in a low voice. Following that, an extremely powerful aura burst from his body. The spiritual qi in the surroundings boiled like oil in a raging fire, gushing into his body in a frenzy. His spiritual energy was also increasing rapidly. The 7th forefather's expression changed. This is the Great Sky Demonic Disintegration Technique. The Great Sky Demonic Disintegration Technique. Are you trying to take me down with you? Great Taoist runes flashed across Chu Kuangren's eyes as he analyzed the Chakra King. The Great Sky Demonic Disintegration Technique was a mysterious technique that originated from demonic orthodoxies. It burned the foundation of one's body to rapidly increase one's combat strength. But this technique could kill 800 enemies at the cost of 3,000 lives. The user's cultivation base would be completely destroyed, and the worst-case scenario would be death on the spot. It was a suicidal technique that was considered a taboo even among demonic orthodoxies. There were very few demonic cultivators who cultivated this technique. The Chakra King was one of them. He knew that he had no hope of escaping, which was why he chose to use this technique. Boom! A sonic boom was heard in the void. The Chakra King disappeared from where he stood and charged towards Chu Kuangren. With a punch, a violent surge of spiritual power and cold Taoist rhyme erupted and locked onto Chu Kuangren. White lotus light of purification. White lotuses appeared around Chu Kuangren's body, nullifying the Chakra King's first wave of attack. However, the second wave of attack was already upon him. Human Mountain Stamp. Chu Kuangren channeled the spiritual power within his body and unleashed a palm attack. The Human Mountain Taoist rhyme erupted and took on the Chakra King's second punch. A loud explosion rang out and space shook. A shockwave swept out like a storm, and a good number of the surrounding cultivators were sent flying. Just as the Chakra King was about to continue his attack, the seventh forefather had already unleashed a sword ray in an attempt to force him back. However, the Chakra King made an unexpected move. Instead of retreating or evading, he took the sword ray head-on. Then, he waved his arms and activated his Taoist rhyme, looking like he was determined to kill Chu Kuangren. Chu Kuangren was too amazing. Even the Chakra King was terrified. If he did not die, he would definitely become the enemy of the Underworld Palace and even the entire demonic orthodoxy. Besides, Chu Kuangren had killed Zhao Wujin, so the Chakra King hated him to the core. Since he was going to die, he would drag Chu Kuangren down with him. Sage technique, Een Ender Finger. The Chakra King pointed his finger out, and a cold and domineering finger strength landed on Chu Kuangren's shoulder. With a poof, the finger force pierced a large hole in the other party's shoulder, almost knocking off his entire arm. However, what happened next left the Chakra King dumbfounded. The bloody hole on Chu Kuangren's shoulder had a large amount of granulation tissue growing. First, it was the bones, then the flesh, and finally the skin. In an instant, the bloody hole was completely healed. His skin was as white as jade, and he didn't seem to be injured at all. How could this be? The Chakra King was dumbfounded. What kind of technique was this? Chu Kuangren, on the other hand, seized the opportunity while his opponent was still in a daze to unleash his descendant self-sword chi and blast his opponent away. After that, Chu Kuangren stood proudly in the air as the 5 supreme foundation levels within his body radiated with a dazzling divine light. Light patterns flowed on the surface of his body, making it look like gold or jade. With the golden jade body's support, his spiritual power was pushed to the limit. Heaven-rending drawing technique. The Emperor technique was performed again, and the vast Emperor's aura locked onto the Chakravarti King. A terrifying purple sword light burst out. In the blink of an eye, the Chakravarti King was killed on the spot. Tonight, Chu Kuangren had consecutively killed 2 honorable supremes. With the descendant's self-sword in his hand, he was dressed in a peerless white robe, and his jet-black hair reached his waist. Sword-based Taoist rhymes emanated from his body, and under the moonlight, he looked like a sword deity. Everyone could not help but be moved by his peerless demeanor. Brother Chu is truly a god. In the crowd, Li Xingqian could not help but exclaim. Meanwhile, the sage ruler remnant spirit within his body was also amazed. I don't think there are more than a handful of such peerless characters throughout the ages. Yes, indeed. Li Xingqian nodded in agreement. He then said, Teacher, now that your heart is in our hands, what should we do next? When we get back, I'll teach you how to refine it. The sage ruler remnant spirit could not suppress the excitement in her tone. Li Xingqian was a little confused, but he did not think too much about it. He only thought that his teacher was happy that his strength had increased again. The massacre lasted for the entire night, and it only stopped when dawn broke. The group of demonic cultivators had been wiped out. The crack to the secret realm had also closed. It's a shame that we couldn't find that demonic heart. King Qian said disappointedly when they returned to the palace. That was a sage ruler's heart. Even if it was a demonic heart, it was still extremely tempting. To a cultivator who had yet to become a sage, its value was extraordinary. Perhaps the rumors were wrong, the seventh forefather said. Perhaps. King Qian shook his head and stopped thinking about it. He then cupped his fists at Chu Kuangren and said, "It's all thanks to Brother Chu that we were able to wipe out the demonic cultivators this time. Otherwise, we wouldn't have been able to do it alone." "You're too kind, King Qian. By the way, where's Brother Li?" Chu Kuangren smiled and asked about Li Xingqian's whereabouts. King Qian said, "He seems to have gone to rest. Fellow Li has contributed a lot in eliminating the devil cultivators this time, as expected of the young master of the White Jade Tower. I'm really sorry for capturing him because of a misunderstanding. Brother Li is not a narrow-minded person. Since King Qian doesn't mind, I'll leave the rest to you." "All right, Brother Chu, go and rest." "All right." After Chu Kuangren went back, he began to organize the loot from the battle. He had gained quite a lot from this battle. He had used the gluttonous devouring technique to absorb a lot of demonic cultivators' flesh and blood essences, which helped his cultivation level to improve. Moreover, the honorables, especially the Chakra King, were all very wealthy. Just the soul stones alone had a few million top-tier ones. There were also some natural treasures like spiritual marrows, which he fed to the godly phoenix egg. Besides that, he had used the heaven-slaying sword-drawing technique twice this time, so he had a general understanding of the Emperor technique's power. Although it was his own creation, an Emperor technique was still an Emperor technique. With his current strength, he could not fully unleash its power. However, no one below the sage level could block this sword. "Young man, it won't be long before you no longer need us as your protectors," the seventh forefather said emotionally. He felt a little melancholic. Chu Kuangren's growth was too fast. He could already kill honorable supremes and was even more powerful than them. Why would he need their protection? "Seventh forefather and the others have been my protectors for a short time. But I, Chu Kuangren, will always remember your kindness," Chu Kuangren said solemnly. "By the way, Senior Meng, I plan to stay in the Qian King Palace for a few more days. I have some medicinal ingredients here. Can you help me collect them?" Then, Chu Kuangren took out a prescription and handed it to Old Lady Meng. She took a look and was shocked. "Fiancé, this is the prescription for the life extension pill. Are you going to refine the life extension pill?" "That's right. Senior Meng, although there's still some time before you reach Heavenly Deterioration Stage 5, I plan to refine a batch of life extension pills for you first." Chu Kuangren smiled. Old Lady Meng was touched when she heard that. She then trembled as she knelt before Chu Kuangren. "Fiancé, I'm very grateful for your understanding. Please get up. This is what you deserve," Chu Kuangren said. "Thank you, fiancé," Old Lady Meng said before she went to prepare the medicinal ingredients. Chapter 163. In one of the side halls of the Qian King Palace, Li Xingqian sat on his bed, his expression changing. Sometimes he was angry, sometimes he was happy, and sometimes he was sinister. ****, get out of my body," Li Xingqian said furiously. But in the next second, his expression became gloomy again. "My good disciple, lend your body to your master. I shall make your name known throughout the world." It was as if there were two personalities alternating inside his body. Li Xingqian's expression changed again. "I don't want to. So you wanted me to take your heart not to help me improve my strength, but to wait for me to refine this demonic heart before you take over my body. Ha! You found out too late. This is the power of my eternal soul transference technique. As long as my demonic heart is not destroyed, I will not die. As long as someone refines this demonic heart, I can take over their body and be reborn. Why did you choose me?" Li Xingqian gritted his teeth. TSK, this is fate. You met me and you have the starlight physique, extraordinary talents, and the White Jade Hotel as your background. If I don't take over your body, who else would I take over?" The Eternal King sneered. "Don't worry, I will inherit everything you have. I will use your parents and background to help me ascend the throne. No! Li Xingqian let out a low roar. Then, as if he had lost all his strength, he lowered his head and fell silent. After a while, Li Xingqian raised his head and a dark light flashed across his eyes. I finally suppressed this guy's soul. Now, I just need to completely merge with the demonic heart. Once he had completely merged with the demonic heart, he would be reborn as the eternal Sage King, and Li Xingqian would no longer exist. Li Xingqian, my good disciple, don't you worry. Li Xingqian chuckled. At this time, Chu Kuangren was in an alchemy room in the Qian King Palace. He was planning to refine a batch of life extension pills for Old Lady Meng. As his Taoist protector, Old Lady Meng had been working very hard all this time. Although Chu Kuangren did not say it out loud, he knew that it was time for him to do something to show his appreciation. It just so happened that refining the prolonging life pill was not a difficult task for him, although he could not refine the Starlight grade prolonging life pill that was comparable to a Saint grade pill due to the lack of medicinal ingredients. However, supreme beings who were slightly weaker could still do it. Not long after, a large amount of pill chi soared into the sky from the alchemy room, and an incomparably surging vitality swept through half of the palace. Many cultivators in the palace sensed this vitality. What a strong life force and elixir energy. Could it be that someone is concocting the prolonging life pill? The prolonging life pill is divided into several grades, but this kind of Dan Qi is at least a supreme grade prolonging life pill. Only a Grandmaster Alchemist would be able to refine it. That's not right. How could there be an alchemist of this level in our palace? Who is he? Quick, let's go take a look. The phenomenon of refining the prolonging life pill had attracted many people. The Eternal Sage King, who had just completed his possession, also noticed it. Such a phenomenon. There's an alchemist refining the pill. I didn't expect to meet one here. How rare. A person of this level is very useful to me now. It's worth befriending him. He will definitely be of help to my cultivation in the future. Li Xingqian muttered to himself before he dashed toward the source of the Dan Qi. Above the alchemy room, pill clouds gathered. 1, 2, 3, a total of 9 pill clouds emitted auspicious golden light. Waves of surging vitality and Taoist rhymes filled the air, shocking all the cultivators. King Qian, who had just arrived, was dumbfounded. Although he did not study alchemy, he knew what 9 pill clouds represented. 9 pill clouds. Moreover, this scale of Dan Qi means that it's an honorable grade pill, a grade 9 supreme grade pill. King Qian's voice was trembling. He had never heard of anyone who could refine a grade 9 supreme grade pill, not even a Grandmaster Alchemist. This is an Grandmaster Alchemist. Only a legendary Grandmaster Alchemist can refine a supreme grade pill like this. Who is it? Who's in the alchemy room? All the cultivators who rushed to the scene were shocked by the scene before them. Even Li Xingqian was shocked. A grade 9 supreme grade pill and Grandmaster Alchemist. I can't believe someone like this has appeared. I must befriend this person, Li Xingqian said with a fiery gaze. Soon, he noticed that there were a few people guarding outside the alchemy room. It's them. Li Xingqian was slightly surprised. Those people were Lan Yu and the 3 protectors who were by Chu Kuangren's side. However, Chu Kuangren was nowhere to be seen. He was a little curious. The protectors are almost inseparable from Chu Kuangren. Why are they here but not Chu Kuangren? Li Xingqian walked up to them. Greetings, seniors. Little friend, you're here too. The 7th forefather nodded slightly. Li Xingqian felt a little uncomfortable being called a little friend. After all, he was now a sage ruler who had reincarnated into another body. Whether it was in terms of experience or cultivation, he was much more experienced than the 7th forefather. How could he not feel uncomfortable being called a little friend? However, he hid it well and did not show it. Who's in this alchemy room? Also, where did Brother Chu go? Previously, he was in a remnant spirit state and could not wait to avoid Chu Kuangren. However, now that he had reincarnated into another body, even a sage would not be able to see through him. Naturally, he was not afraid of Chu Kuangren finding out anything. The bachelor sage is in the alchemy room. Honorable Qing Lan smiled. Oh, could it be that Brother Chu is familiar with that alchemy grandmaster? No, the bachelor sage is the alchemist. Li Xingqian's face revealed a hint of shock as he said, Seniors, you're not joking with me, are you? The seventh forefather smiled faintly and said, I know it's hard to believe, but it's the truth. Li Xingqian was completely shocked. Chu Kuangren was an alchemy grandmaster. His cultivation talent was amazing, his combat strength was extraordinary, and he was an alchemy grandmaster too. Was there any justice in this world? What a shame. How great would it be if the person I took over was Chu Kuangren? With his talent and alchemy skills, coupled with my cultivation experience as a sage ruler, I'll definitely be able to rise quickly and ascend to the emperor realm. Li Xingqian lamented in his heart. If he wanted to take over a body, he would naturally have to find a sky pride with good cultivation talent. However, compared to Chu Kuangren, all the sky prides in the world were like dust. Now that I've reincarnated as Li Xingqian, I must build a good relationship with Chu Kuangren. Even if I can't borrow his strength, it's better not to make him my enemy unless it's absolutely necessary. He was aware of his current situation. Having just taken over a body, he was definitely no match for Chu Kuangren. He still needed time to grow. With a creak, the alchemy room's door opened and Chu Kuangren walked out with a small jade bottle in his hand. Inside the bottle were a few golden pills. They were the 9th grade Honorable Supreme Pills, the Life Extension Pills. Senior Meng, there are a total of 12 Supreme Pills here. If you take one every month, it should be able to extend your life by about 3,000 years. Thank you, fiancé. Old Lady Meng was so grateful that she took the pills with trembling hands. Chapter 164. I didn't expect Brother Chu to be an alchemy grandmaster as well. How versatile you are, King Qian said as he walked up to him. The crowd of cultivators behind him also surrounded him and complimented him. Brother Chu, not only are you talented, but you also know how to refine pills. That's amazing. I'm impressed. That's right. This old man also knows a little about the Tao of alchemy, but compared to fellow Chu, my knowledge pales in comparison. Brother Chu, I have a 20-year-old daughter in my family. She admires you very much. When can you meet her? The cultivators were all talking at once. Some of them even started to promote their daughters. King Qian's mouth twitched as he looked at the group of cultivators. These embarrassing people did not know how to be reserved at all. Brother Chu, I have a daughter who is proficient in the 4 arts. Do you need me to ask her to keep you company? King Qian smiled gently. The crowd of cultivators was speechless. They could not be blamed for that. After all, Chu Kuangren's abilities were just too shocking. Combat strength aside, who could guarantee that they would not experience headaches or fever just from his alchemy abilities alone? Who could guarantee that they would not experience heavenly deterioration stage 5? Chu Kuangren's alchemy grandmaster abilities were too valuable. As long as he wanted to, he could extend the lives of most cultivators. That alone was enough to make Chu Kuangren fearless, even if he did not have the strength to truss a chicken. On the contrary, many wanted to befriend him. Facing the enthusiastic King Qian and the crowd of cultivators, Chu Kuangren kept a smile on his face as he dealt with them one by one. After a while, he looked at Li Xingqian, who was beside him. Brother Li, you contributed a lot in clearing the demonic onslaught yesterday. Thank you for your hard work. It's my pleasure. But Brother Chu has given me a surprise today. I didn't expect you to know alchemy as well. Ha! I can't survive without some life skills these days. Chu Kuangren laughed. You must be joking, Brother Chu, Li Xingqian said. Chu Kuangren looked at Li Xingqian and frowned. He felt that Li Xingqian was a little off today, but he could not pinpoint what it was. Chu Kuangren immediately activated his Eye of Revelation. However, what he saw made his pupils shrink. Eternal Sage King in a state of possession. After his physical body perished 50,000 years ago, he has existed in the form of a remnant spirit. He cultivates the eternal soul transfer technique. Li Xingqian's soul is in hibernation. Information about the Eternal Sage King flashed past his vision. As for Li Xingqian, he was only in a state of hibernation. However, Chu Kuangren breathed a sigh of relief that the other party was still alive. Then, he said calmly, "Brother Li, how about going for a walk with me? How could I dare to refuse Brother Chu's invitation? Please." The two of them left the side hall and strolled around the palace. Along the way, the maidservants came and went, and when they saw Chu Kuangren and Li Xingqian, they would respectfully bow to them. "Greetings, young Master Chu and young Master Li." Yes. After a pair of maidservants passed by, Chu Kuangren said, "Brother Li, you've changed. You don't even look at these pretty girls anymore." Hearing this, Li Xingqian's heart skipped a beat. Only then did he remember that Li Xingqian used to be a stickler for appearances. When he saw good-looking people, he could not help but take a second look. However, now that there were so many beautiful maidservants in the palace, he did not even look at any of them. Did this make Chu Kuangren suspicious? "Brother Chu, you must be joking. In terms of looks, Brother Chu is the most beautiful person in this world. With you here, no one else can enter my eyes." Li Xingqian laughed and brushed it off. "You're giving me goosebumps." Chu Kuangren looked at Li Xingqian strangely. "Brother Chu, please don't misunderstand. I'm not that interested." The two of them and Lan Yu came to a garden. Seeing that there was no one around, Chu Kuangren said, "During the battle last night, the demonic cultivators came for the demonic heart, but it has disappeared. Who do you think has it?" "How would I know?" "Oh, it's beating in your body. Don't you know?" Hearing this, Li Xingqian's face froze. How did Chu Kuangren know that he had a demonic heart? "Brother Chu, I didn't mean to lie to you, but this demonic heart is very important. I was afraid that you'd think I've strayed into the demonic path, so I hid it from you because I couldn't think of a way to explain it." Li Xingqian quickly explained. "All right, stop pretending, Eternal Sage King." Chu Kuangren laid his cards on the table. With a thought, the Battle Monarch domain had already locked onto Li Xingqian, suppressing him. Even though he was a Sage King, he was still in the form of a remnant spirit. Although he had taken over Li Xingqian's body, Chu Kuangren's domain still made him feel an immense pressure. It was as if he was a mortal in a swamp, unable to move. However, the pressure from the domain was nothing compared to the pressure in his heart. The Eternal Sage King looked at Chu Kuangren in shock, not knowing how Chu Kuangren saw through his identity. He had just taken over Li Xingqian's body last night. How could he be seen through today? This was too fast. "Brother Chu, what are you talking about? Why would I?" Li Xingqian, no, the Eternal Sage King wanted to say something, but the domain energy suddenly increased, pressing him to the ground. "Get out of Li Xingqian's body," Chu Kuangren said coldly. The Eternal Sage King felt extremely aggrieved. As a Sage King, he had never bowed down to anyone before, let alone kneeling like a dog in front of someone. Although he did not know how Chu Kuangren did it, he knew that Chu Kuangren's determination meant that he had seen through his identity. "Chu Kuangren, you better be careful. This body now belongs to Li Xingqian. I'm now one with him, so if I die, he will die too," the Eternal Sage King said coldly. "Oh, so you're threatening me now?" So what if I am? What can you do to me? I don't know how you saw through my identity, but if you don't want Li Xingqian to die, you better let me go." The Eternal Sage King sneered. The Eternal Soul Transference technique was very powerful. His remnant spirit had attached itself to Li Xingqian's body, and it had merged with his own demonic heart. The spirit and physical body had merged so perfectly that no one could separate them. "Just in time, I'll use you to test this thing out." With a flash of light in Chu Kuangren's hand, a pitch-black chain suddenly appeared. An incomparably gloomy aura suddenly spread out. This aura made the Eternal Sage King's pupils dilate, and a very uneasy feeling arose in his heart. "What is this?" the Eternal Sage King asked in shock. Chu Kuangren did not answer him. He threw the hook end of the chain out, and the chain suddenly became a little illusory as it pierced straight through the Eternal Sage King's body. At that moment, the Eternal Sage King's expression turned into one of extreme fear. "What are you doing?" His remnant spirit began to tremble uncontrollably, as if it had met its natural enemy. "Humph! Come out!" Chu Kuangren snorted coldly, and with a violent tug, The chain flew out from Li Xingqian's body. At the same time, it pulled out a gray-robed, white-haired elder. This elder was hooked by the hook of the chain and was tightly bound, unable to move. It was the Eternal Sage King's remnant spirit. How is this possible? How is this possible? Chapter 165. How is this possible? How is this possible? The Eternal Sage King, who had been dragged out of Li Xingqian's body by the Soul Retriever, was in disbelief. He could feel that the Soul Retriever was constantly releasing a chilling aura to numb his sage spirit. This is a weapon that targets the soul, and it's of a very high grade. How did you get something like this? The Eternal Sage King roared. Weapons that targeted the soul were too rare. Even he had never seen one before. He had only heard of it. Chu Kuangren had such a weapon on him, and it just so happened to be used against him, who had just successfully taken over his body. The Eternal Sage King was so angry that his sage spirit was trembling. Destiny, is this destiny? Do you really want me dead? No, not even that sage war could kill me. I refuse to believe that a mere chain can do anything to me. The Eternal Sage King struggled with all his might as his sage spirit trembled violently. Chu Kuangren gently tugged on the Soul Retriever, and the chilling aura on the Soul Retriever intensified. The Eternal Sage King was corroded by that energy, and his sage spirit was frozen into an ice sculpture. Chu Kuangren, what do you want? The Eternal Sage King said weakly. I'm a little curious. What do you mean by sage war? Tell me, and I might spare your life, Chu Kuangren said. The Eternal Sage King's expression changed. However, he was now on Chu Kuangren's chopping block. He had no choice but to listen to him if he did not want to die. The Sage War was a great war that took place 50,000 years ago. All the participants were sages, which is why it's called the Sage War. Wait. All the participants were sages. Chu Kuangren was slightly surprised. He glanced at Lan Yu, who was beside him. Lan Yu was also quite surprised. 50,000 years ago, all the participants were sages. It seems that this was the war that the sage ruler Light participated in. Lan Yu said. When she obtained the Scepter of Light, she had obtained some memory fragments of the sage ruler Light. One of them was a terrifying war that also took place 50,000 years ago. If she was not mistaken, it was the Sage War that the Eternal Sage King mentioned. Sage Ruler Light? There was indeed a Sage Ruler who participated in the Sage War. I have some impression of him, the Eternal Sage King said. Continue. What is the Sage War's purpose? To become a martial emperor. In that age of chaos, the great Tao did not appear. In order to become emperors, the saints set up a great formation and let the saints fight inside, causing the saints' Taos to interweave and collide. They tried to use this method to stimulate the great Tao and make the great Tao manifest, making the opportunity to become emperors appear. The Eternal Sage King explained. Chu Kuangren was slightly surprised to hear that. I didn't know there was such a method. To become an emperor, you guys really put in a lot of effort. Did you guys succeed? I don't know. I didn't make it to the end in the Sacred War. However, before my physical body perished, I saw the sage's Taos interweave into golden auspicious clouds in the sky. The great Tao manifested and the Emperor's Qi appeared. Wait, Emperor Qi? Yes. The corner of Chu Kuangren's mouth twitched. Did you guys create such a huge commotion just for 1 or 2 streams of primordial Emperor's essences? I know what you're thinking. It's not worth it. The Eternal Sage mocked himself. He now had 49 streams of primordial Emperor's essences, and he did not even need to start a sacred war. This is the benefit of being in this era. Chu Kuangren, you weren't born during the Dharma decline era, so you don't know how crazy the people of that era were to become emperors. The Sacred War was just one of the many experiments. The Eternal Sage King said calmly. Alright, since the Sacred War was started and the Emperor's essences appeared, there must be a winner in the end, right? Who was it? I don't know. I've already said that my physical body perished midway. It was not until recently that my sage spirit awakened. As for what happened in the tens of thousands of years in between, I have no idea. The Eternal Sage King shook his head. I see. Where is the battlefield of the sacred war? Chu Kuangren asked the last question. In the past, we called it the Tali Desert, but now you guys call it the ancient battlefield. Oh, one of the 10 great forbidden areas. The ancient battlefield. Chu Kuangren was slightly surprised. The 10 great forbidden areas were the most dangerous places in Firmament Star. Even a sage might not come out alive after entering one of them. The ancient battlefield was one of them. It was said that countless battles had taken place in the ancient battlefield. It was surrounded by ferocious qi all year round, making it extremely dangerous. I should go take a look when I have the chance. Chu Kuangren felt an urge to take a risk. He suppressed this impulse and tugged on the Soul Retriever. The Eternal Sage King let out a scream as the Soul Retriever unleashed a terrifying chilling energy that tore at his remnant spirit. Chu Kuangren, you went back on your word. The Eternal Sage King stared at Chu Kuangren with hatred. Did I promise you anything? I said that I might be able to keep you here, but it was just a possibility, not a certainty. Besides, what use is a remnant spirit like you to me? You even tried to harm my friend. If I don't kill you, do you think I'll keep you alive for the new year? Chu Kuangren curled his lips and pulled hard on the Soul Retriever. The Eternal Sage King's remnant spirit instantly shattered and disappeared. Chu Kuangren used the Eye of Revelation to check on Li Xingqian. He only felt relieved when he did not find the Eternal Sage King. As long as the demonic heart is not destroyed, the Eternal Sage King will not die. This eternal soul transference technique can only give the Eternal Sage King one chance to possess someone else. This time he's dead. Chu Kuangren kept the Soul Retriever. Li Xingqian, who was lying on the ground, slowly regained consciousness. He looked around in confusion before he jumped up and screamed while holding his head. Eternal Sage King, get out of my body. Stop yelling. He's dead. Chu Kuangren rolled his eyes beside him. Brother Chu, why are you here? It's all because of you. Chu Kuangren then told him about how he found the Eternal Sage King. I thought this old man was your golden finger, but I didn't expect him to be an old man who wants your life. Chu Kuangren said. Although Li Xingqian did not understand what Chu Kuangren meant by golden finger, he knew that Chu Kuangren had saved his life. It's all thanks to you, Brother Chu. From now on, my life belongs to you. If you need anything, just let me know. Chu Kuangren patted him on the shoulder and said, You don't have to be so polite if I'm your friend. Brother Chu. Li Xingqian was so touched. After settling the Eternal Sage King's matter, Chu Kuangren and the others stayed in the palace for another 2 days before they left. Congratulations, host. You've drawn a gold-grade item, the Verdant Emperor Sword. On the ferry boat, Chu Kuangren had drawn a gold-grade treasure sword. According to the Cultivation World's classification, it was a supreme weapon. Why is it a sword again? Chu Kuangren muttered to himself as he placed the honorable grade sword into the sacred emerald sword case. This was the 7th sword that he had drawn this month. Although each of them was a rare treasure sword, and he had the sacred emerald sword case to nurture them, the Descendant Self-Sword was more than enough for him. He did not know what to do with so many swords out of the blue. Was he going to use them as hidden weapons? One supreme sword at a time. TSK. What a tycoon. Chapter 166. Just as Chu Kuangren was traveling around the world, a piece of news suddenly spread throughout the Azure Dragon domain, shocking many people. The sect leader of the Black Heaven sect, Honorable Xian Qi, was preparing to transcend his tribulation. This incident shook the entire Azure Dragon domain. One should know that once a venerable successfully transcended the heavenly tribulation, he would reach the quasi-sage realm. As long as he accumulated enough, he could become a sage in the future. Was the Black Heaven sect going to have another sage? For a time, the entire Azure Dragon domain was discussing this matter. The Black Heaven sect is a sage orthodoxy to begin with, so there must be a sage behind them. However, if there's another sage, then it'll be terrifying. That's right. Even if it's a sage orthodoxy, there won't be many sages behind them. Every additional sage is crucial. TSK. The prerequisite is that Honorable Xian Qi successfully transcends the tribulation. Honorable Xian Qi's ascension. Some people can't sit still anymore. When Honorable Xian Qi was young, he roamed the entire firmament star and offended countless people. It would be strange if those people let him succeed in his ascension this time. I wonder what kind of trouble they'll cause. The world was abuzz with discussion. Chu Kuangren had also received the news. Honorable Teacher is going to ascend soon. Let's return to the Black Heaven sect. Chu Kuangren made a prompt decision to end this trip and return to the Black Heaven sect instead. As for Li Xingqian, he tagged along to pay a visit. The atmosphere in the longevity hall of the Black Heaven sect was extremely tense. A few elders had gathered together and were discussing the arrangements for Honorable Xian Qi's ascension this time, including the location, the tools, and so on. Chu Kuangren walked in amidst the lively discussion. The first seat is back. Madman. Chu Kuangren entered the grand hall and bowed to each of the elders. Then, he looked at Honorable Xian Qi and said with dissatisfaction, Master, you didn't even inform me about such a big thing like ascension. Aren't you treating me like an outsider? Haha, it's just a tribulation. Honorable Xian Qi laughed. Chu Kuangren and the others were dumbfounded. It's just a tribulation? These words were easy to say. One should know that countless cultivators view the heavenly tribulations as nightmares. The slightest bit of carelessness would result in death. Honorable Teacher, how confident are you? Chu Kuangren asked. At least 70%. Honorable Xian Qi smiled proudly. Only 70%? Isn't that too little? Chu Kuangren frowned. When the elders heard this, they looked at each other. Was 70% little? Honorable Xian Qi shook his head and laughed. Madman. A 70% chance of success in something like transcending the ascension ordeal is already a miracle. Why don't you wait until you're 100% confident before going through the tribulation? Actually, I should have gone through the tribulation many years ago, but I've been accumulating my foundation all this time. Now I've reached my limit. All right. When is the tribulation? 7 days later. There's still time. Honorable Xian Qi was stunned. What do you mean? 7 days is enough for me to prepare some things for Master. 70% is too little, I need at least 90%. Chu Kuangren chuckled. In the next few days, he started to get busy. On this day, within the pill pavilion, a terrifying pill chi soared into the sky, condensing into 9 mysterious yellow pill clouds in the sky. Bursts of auspicious chi filled the air. Wherever the pill chi passed, the withered tree would receive a new lease of life. Many alchemists were attracted by this strange phenomenon. What a terrifying pellet aura. Is this a 9th grade sovereign pellet? No, it's probably a sage-to-be supreme pill. Is Elder Senior Brother refining the pill? Nonsense. Who else other than Elder Senior Brother could do this? In the pill pavilion, the alchemy master Gujiang, who had just joined the Black Heaven sect not long ago, could not help but exclaim at the scene before him. A 9th grade sage supreme pill. I guess only Grandmaster Chu can refine something like this in the entire firmament star. This is too shocking. He had learned from Chu Kuangren for a while, but the more he learned, the more he felt that Chu Kuangren's alchemy level far exceeded his own. Not long after, Honorable Xian Qi and the others arrived. They looked at each other when they saw the pill transformation in front of them. What's Kuangren up to this time? Why did I say again? The pill clouds dissipated, and the transformation disappeared. Everyone thought that Chu Kuangren had finished refining the pill, but the door to the alchemy room was still closed. Why isn't he out yet? Should we go in and take a look? Outside the door, Lan Yu said to Honorable Xian Qi. Master said that if he doesn't come out, no one is to disturb him. Everyone was helpless and could only continue to wait. Not long after, another burst of pill chi soared into the sky, condensing into 9 pill clouds. Everyone was already used to it. The legendary 9th grade supreme pills in the alchemy world were as common as rice to Chu Kuangren. He could have them whenever he wanted. What a genius! One of the elders sighed. This was no longer something that could be described as a genius. This was a genius that defied common sense. About half an hour had passed. A creak was heard. The door to the alchemy room opened, and Chu Kuangren came out with 2 jade bottles, each containing a yellow and a green pill. Honorable teacher, you're here. Nonsense. How could I not be here when you've caused such a big commotion? Honorable Xian Qi said angrily. Disciple, aren't you worried about your tribulation? Chu Kuangren muttered, then handed the 2 jade bottles to Honorable Xian Qi and said, the yellow one is the rejuvenation pill, a sage supreme healing pill, can quickly heal injuries. As long as you don't die, 1 pill will keep you alive. There are 3 in total, use them well during your ascension. There's only 1 green pill. This is the spring slumber pill, also known as the death-faking pill. If you feel like you can't hold on any longer, take this pill. It can put you in a state of suspended animation and deceive the heavenly tribulation. Although it's considered a failure, it's still better than losing your life. After Chu Kuangren finished introducing the 2 pills, he looked at the crowd and realized that everyone was looking at him like he was a monster. What's wrong? Do you have any more questions? No. Elder Ruyan shook her head and said, I just feel like I could do it if I were the one doing it. The pills given by Chu Kuangren were too precious. Without a doubt, they could greatly increase the success rate of ascension. The rejuvenation pill is a sage supreme healing pill. It's very rare, let alone a 9th grade supreme pill. I'm afraid it's not any weaker than a sage pill. Master Chu, you're amazing. Gujiang gulped and looked at the spring slumber pill with a puzzled expression. This is the spring slumber pill. Why haven't I heard of it before? It'd be weird if you've heard of it before. This is the pill recipe that I got from the gacha roll. Chu Kuangren muttered in his heart. This is the pill recipe that I obtained by chance. I've already tried it, so don't worry, honorable teacher, Chu Kuangren said. Honorable Xian Qi kept the pills and smiled. Of course I believe you. You've done so much for me. Thank you. With these pills, I'm at least 80% confident. Chu Kuangren shook his head. I've already said that you need at least 90% confidence. 80% is still not enough. The few elders smiled bitterly. After all, a cultivator could take the risk if they had a 50% confidence in ascension. 70% was already the limit. 80% is not enough? If *CK me, then no one in this world would dare to attempt ascension. Chapter 167. Honorable Teacher, please follow me, Chu Kuangren said. Then, he brought Honorable Xian Qi and the others to a secluded mountain. It was the place that Honorable Xian Qi had decided on for the ascension. At this place, there were 4 black iron pillars standing at 4 corners, and there were mysterious runes engraved on them. When they arrived, they looked at the 4 iron pillars in confusion. What is this? I don't think this thing was here last time. The material of these iron pillars is special, and it seems to contain some kind of Taoist rhyme. This must be some kind of treasure. Kuangren, you didn't set this up, did you? Honorable Xian Qi asked curiously. Chu Kuangren nodded slightly. Yes, these 4 iron pillars are called the Thundersoother rods. They can direct the power of the heavenly tribulation to the earth. Hearing this, the few of them were shocked. They had never heard of something like this that could direct the power of the heavenly tribulation. How could these iron pillars have such a magical effect? Led disciple, it's not that I don't believe you, but the ascension of the sect leader is not a trivial matter. Are these iron pillars really as magical as you say? One of the elders said. Chu Kuangren smiled without saying a word. He then walked into the 4 iron pillars and said to the elder, Second elder, I remember that you're cultivating the 9 heavenly lightning sword art. You can attack me now. I don't think that's a good idea. Second elder was a little hesitant. Do it. This? Second elder looked at Honorable Xian Qi. Why are you looking at me? If Kuangren wants you to attack, just do it. With your cultivation level, how can you hurt him? Honorable Xian Qi said with a smile. He had already learned about Chu Kuangren's current strength from the 7th forefather. Not to mention second elder, even he could not do anything to Chu Kuangren. Every time he thought of this, he would feel melancholy. His disciple was too powerful, and as his honorable teacher, he was under a lot of pressure. All right then. Second elder nodded. Then, he focused his sword finger and a surge of lightning-based Taoist rhyme erupted and turned into a lightning sword chi. The lightning sword chi swept towards Chu Kuangren. But Chu Kuangren stood inside the iron pillar and did not move an inch. When the sword chi approached him, the lightning power trembled and was actually distorted by an invisible force. It struck the metal pillar and then disappeared. Eh? The second elder let out a soft gasp before he struck out with his sword again. This time it was stronger, but just like before, the lightning energy was channeled into the ground by the iron pillar. Could not hurt Chu Kuangren at all. Interesting. The second elder soared into the sky, and a terrifying Taoist rhyme of thunder instantly filled the air. Dark clouds gathered, and thunder rumbled. A dazzling heavenly might engulfed the entire place, shocking everyone. Chief, I'm going to use my full strength. Please. Chu Kuangren smiled. Everyone watched with rapt attention. Thunder of the ninth heaven. For my use. The second elder let out a long roar, and the rolling thunder power in the dark clouds suddenly condensed into a huge thunder sword above his head. As the giant sword slashed down, the heavenly might shook the earth. Even a supreme honorable would not dare to be careless when facing this sword. However, Chu Kuangren remained motionless. Boom! As the giant sword descended, the void trembled wherever it passed. However, when the giant sword approached the 4 iron pillars, the violent lightning energy was instantly distorted and channeled back to the ground. All that was left was pure sword chi that surged towards Chu Kuangren. Without the support of the lightning energy, the sword chi did not pose any threat to him at all. The white lotus light of purification easily disintegrated the sword chi. Everyone was dumbfounded by what they saw. This iron pillar can really guide the lightning energy. Heavenly tribulations appear in the form of lightning. This means that this iron pillar really has the effect of guiding the heavenly tribulation energy. That's amazing. The second elder slowly landed on the ground and looked at the Thundersoother rod in awe. Chief, where did you get this treasure from? I got it by chance. Chu Kuangren smiled. The crowd's mouth twitched when they heard that. You got the pill recipe by chance, and so did this Thundersoother rod. Why do you only have so many opportunities of fortune? You're really blessed by fortune, Chief. The second elder could not help but exclaim. Chu Kuangren smiled faintly. Who asked him to be a cheat? He also got this Thundersoother rod from the lottery. Some time ago, he got a lot of good things from the lottery. Some of them were temporarily unused, so he left them in his inventory without retrieving them. The Thundersoother rod was one of them. He had to go back and see if there was anything else he could use in this tribulation. He had to be more thorough in his preparations. Looking at Honorable Xian Qi, who was admiring the Thundersoother rod, Chu Kuangren sighed in his heart. Honorable Master's ascension had caused his disciple to worry a lot. With the eternal rejuvenation pill and this Thundersoother rod, I can say that this ascension is in the bag. Honorable Xian Qi laughed. Then, he seemed to have thought of something and a cold glint flashed in his eyes. As long as those guys don't get in the way. Hearing this, Chu Kuangren's heart skipped a beat. He knew that Honorable Xian Qi had offended many people when he was young in Firmament Star. Most of these people were now big shots. Whether it was strength or power, they could not be underestimated. Now that Honorable Xian Qi was ascending, would they just sit back and watch? There's a sage in the Black Heaven sect. If those people want to come and cause trouble, they'll definitely find a way to deal with the sage. Only a sage can go against a sage. There are many sage orthodoxies in Firmament Star, but there are only a few who have a grudge against the Black Heaven sect. Who would come? Chu Kuangren thought. Inside a restaurant, a sloppy man with a broken arm was sitting in the corner, drinking. At that moment, a middle-aged man in a luxurious robe walked in front of the sloppy man and said, I can't believe the famous swordsman of the Azure Dragon domain 1,000 years ago has fallen to such a state. The sloppy man glanced at the middle-aged man. Who are you? Ling Hu Hong. Ling Hu? What a rare surname. From what I remember, the most famous Ling Hu clan is the Ling Hu family of the Scarlet Phoenix domain. The sloppy man burped. Are you? Yes. Why are you looking for me? Did you know that Honorable Xian Qi is about to ascend? Boom! The wine jar in the sloppy man's hand suddenly exploded. He glared at Ling Hu Hong with bloodshot eyes. Don't you dare mention that name in front of me. Ling Hu Hong did not care about the sloppy man's reaction and said, You're poor here, but he's the leader of a sage orthodoxy. Now that he's about to ascend, once he succeeds, he'll become a sage. When that time comes, you and I are nothing more than ants in his eyes. Tell me, are you willing to watch all of this happen? If I remember correctly, he was the one who cut off your arm. So what if I'm not? That's a sage orthodoxy with a sage in charge. Do you think I can just kill my way up there? The sloppy man said dejectedly. The Ling Hu family has a sage too. What do you mean? The Ling Hu family will deal with the Black Heaven Sect sage. You and I will kill our way up to the Black Heaven Sect and stop Xian Qi from ascending. If you're willing to stay here, I'll leave now. The sloppy man gulped down the last jar of wine, and a powerful sword qi suddenly erupted from his body. I've never reattached this broken arm, so that I can remember the humiliation that Xian Qi brought upon me. All these years, I've been indulging myself, but I've never stopped cultivating. Now, it's time to settle the score with Honorable Xian Qi. Chapter 168. Ling Hu Clan. Chu Kuangren could not help but be slightly surprised when he heard Elder Ruyan mention this organization. You're saying that the people from the Ling Hu family might come looking for trouble? Elder Ruyan nodded slightly. That's right. Back then, when sect leader was training outside, he had a conflict with Ling Hu clan's Heaven's Pride, Ling Hu Hong. Ling Hu Hong had suffered many losses at sect leader's hands, so he has always harbored a grudge. They might come and cause trouble during the sect leader's tribulation this time. Chu Kuangren pondered for a while. The Ling Hu clan. This is going to be a problem. In the current world of swordsmanship in the Firmament Star, there was a saying, 1 mountain, 1 sect, and 2 clans, which referred to the 4 orthodoxies that were most proficient in swordsmanship. One was Tempest Mountain and the other was Black Heaven Sect. The 2 families were the Ling Hu family and the Murong family. The 1 mountain, 1 sect, and 2 clans were all sage orthodoxies, and they were all proficient in the way of the sword. There were constant conflicts between them, both openly and covertly, wanting to prove that their sect's way of the sword was the strongest. Their relationship was very unfriendly. In particular, the Ling Hu clan and the Black Heaven Sect were like fire and water. In the past, Honorable Xian Qi had beaten Ling Hu Hong so badly that he could not even lift his head. The other party hated Honorable Xian Qi and the entire Black Heaven Sect to the core. It was very likely that he would take advantage of Honorable Xian Qi's ascension to take action. Apart from Ling Hu Hong, sect leader has also offended quite a number of people when he was traveling in the past, such as Honorable Swordsman of 1,000 Cries of the 7 Heroes of the Way of the Sword. When he was young, he challenged sect leader to a duel and was defeated by sect leader in 3 strikes. There's also Feng Wuchang. His arm was severed by the sect master. Also, the first elder of the Jadewater sect. The rogue cultivators of the 36 Isles, Supremacy Zhualang, Supremacy Lifeless. Chu Kuangren's head was spinning from listening to her. Looking at Elder Ruyan, who was still going on and on, he hurriedly cut her off. He wanted to cry, but no tears came out. Why does Master have so many enemies? Sai, who doesn't offend people when they're young and frivolous? Kuangren, didn't you offend quite a few geniuses as well? Elder Ruyan said indifferently. But this is too much. The corner of Chu Kuangren's mouth twitched. What kind of master did he have? You're so good at attracting hatred? After sending Elder Ruyan off, Chu Kuangren rubbed the space between his eyebrows. It seemed like he would be busy during Honorable Xian Qi's ascension this time. I hope they can be more open-minded and don't come looking for death. Chu Kuangren murmured as a cold light flashed across his eyes. Black Heaven Sect on a mountain peak. Honorable Shen Qi sat on the ground inside the Thundersoother rod with his eyes slightly closed. There was a mysterious Taoist rhyme circulating around his body. At this moment, he seemed to have sensed something and raised his head to look at the sky. He's here. As soon as he finished speaking, the clouds in the distance began to surge, as if ink had dripped into a basin of clear water and was gradually dyed with a layer of ink. Dark clouds gathered and surged towards him. Everywhere it passed, a brilliant heavenly might filled the air. Every single cultivator in the Black Heaven sect could feel it. It's a heavenly tribulation. A heavenly tribulation. What a terrifying aura. Sect leaders' heavenly tribulation is finally here. This is my first time watching someone go through a tribulation. Once the sect leader succeeds in his ascension, our Black Heaven sect will have one more boundary sage. In the future, we will have another sage. Yeah. I hope God blesses us. Don't worry. Sect leader will definitely succeed. Everyone looked in the direction of the dark clouds, their eyes filled with anticipation. Elder Ruyan and the others quickly made their way to the mountain peak where Honorable Shen Qi was, ready to stand guard for him. On the mountain peak, Elder Ruyan, the seventh forefather, and the others stood guard. This guy is much more outstanding than I am. I haven't ascended in so many years, but he's already one step ahead of me. The seventh forefather looked at Honorable Shen Qi and smiled. Beside him, Elder Ruyan smiled and said, previously, seventh forefather entered the heavenly deterioration stage 5, which was why there was no hope for ascension. Now that you've returned to your peak, ascension is just around the corner. Our Black Heaven sect will definitely prosper. Compared to whether or not I can successfully ascend, the Black Heaven sect's prosperity still depends on that little guy, the seventh forefather said. Everyone knew who the little guy he was referring to was. Elder Ruyan agreed with him. Yeah, that kid Quangren is too amazing. Just look at the ascension this time. Every single item he brought out is a peerless treasure. Whether it's opportunities of fortune or talent, he's unprecedented. Whether or not the Black Heaven sect can prosper forever depends on whether he can continue to grow and dominate this era. At that moment, a white-robed figure arrived not far away. It was Chu Quangren, whom the seventh forefather and the others were discussing. Greetings, elder and seventh forefather. How's honorable teacher doing? Chu Quangren bowed and asked. Seeing how worried he was for Honorable Shen Qi, the crowd was relieved. Don't worry, lead disciple. The heavenly tribulation hasn't begun yet. Not bad. With these items that you've prepared, the sect leader's ascension this time is almost certain. Chu Quangren nodded. I still can't be careless. Who knew what kind of trouble his honorable teacher's enemies would come up with? The dark clouds in the sky became thicker and thicker. The terrifying domineering aura grew stronger as well, and every living being within a 10,000-mile radius shuddered from the bottom of their hearts. Heavenly might. This was the true heavenly might. It's about to begin, the seventh forefather said solemnly. The dark clouds tumbled and formed a huge black vortex. Streaks of blue lightning flashed wildly within it. A blue beam of light suddenly descended from the sky and locked onto Honorable Shen Qi. The beam of light was extremely terrifying as it sealed off the space, leaving Honorable Shen Qi with no way to escape. He could only face the heavenly tribulation head-on. Otherwise, he would perish under the heavenly tribulation. Honorable Shen Qi slowly stood up as a surge of sword qi erupted from his body. Majestic sword-based Taoist rhymes circulated around his body. In the distance, the sword mountain trembled as a purple longsword rushed over like a stream of light. It rushed into the beam of light and stopped in front of Honorable Shen Qi. This sword was the sacred sword, Purple Star. Once, Honorable Shen Qi wielded this sword and dominated the firmament star. After he became the Black Heaven sect leader, he returned the sword to the Sword Mountain. Old friend, let's fight this heavenly tribulation together. Honorable Shen Qi held the purple star in a heroic manner. Meanwhile, in the distance, a violent energy wave erupted from the direction of the Black Heaven sect. Then, Elder Ruyan's communication compass vibrated. When she received the message, her expression instantly became extremely gloomy. Someone has come to the Black Heaven sect to cause trouble. Hearing this, everyone's expression became extremely strange. Even a fool would know that these people were here to cause trouble at the Black Heaven sect at this time for Honorable Qian. Then, messages came one after another. There were people causing trouble everywhere in the Black Heaven sect, and many disciples had been injured or killed. D***MN. They're trying to lure us away from the sect leader. Elder Ruyan and the others were extremely angry. You guys go and deal with those small fries. At this time, Honorable Qian said, Sect leader, but you won't have anyone to protect you. Haha, I don't need protection. When I'm going through the heavenly tribulation, they won't dare to touch me. When I'm not going through the heavenly tribulation, they won't be able to touch me. Honorable Qian laughed loudly. When a cultivator was going through the heavenly tribulation, anyone who interfered would also become the target of the heavenly tribulation. Therefore, those people did not dare to touch Honorable Qian when he was going through the heavenly tribulation. They could only attack when the heavenly tribulation was charging up. At that time, Honorable Qian would be free. Go quickly. Let those people know that the Black Heaven sect is not a place where just anyone can come and cause trouble. Honorable Qian said, We'll be back as soon as possible. Elder Ruyan and the others gritted their teeth and led some people to quell the chaos. Chapter 169. Honorable Qian stood alone on the peak of the mountain, facing the lightning tribulation alone. Behind him were only Chu Kuangren and Lan Yu. Chu Kuangren said to Lan Yu, You should go and help Elder Ruyan. Master, can you do it alone? They're just a bunch of thieves. I can handle them alone. Lan Yu hesitated for a moment, then nodded and left. Now only Honorable Qian and Chu Kuangren were left on the mountain. Kuangren, why are you still here? Honorable Qian held the purple star sacred sword in his hand and turned to look at Chu Kuangren. To protect Honorable Teacher. Hey, alright then. Watch how Honorable Teacher faces the heavenly tribulation. Perhaps it will be of help to you in the future. Honorable Qian laughed. Boom! At this moment, a blue lightning bolt as thick as a bucket fell from the black vortex, and its target was Honorable Qian. The first heavenly tribulation had begun. Honorable Qian expression froze. When the lightning bolt was about to reach him, it was deflected by the Thundersoother rod beside him. It directly hit the rod, and a large amount of lightning energy was directed to the ground. The first heavenly tribulation had been passed just like that. Honorable Qian was a little stunned. Kuangren, your Thundersoother rod is really extraordinary. This heavenly tribulation is too easy for me. Honorable Teacher, don't be careless. This is only the first heavenly tribulation. There were at least 9 heavenly tribulations for cultivators, and each one was stronger than the last. The last one might even be comparable to a sage's attack. After the first heavenly tribulation, the rolling dark clouds were accumulating the power of the second heavenly tribulation, and there was no movement for the time being. Suddenly, Chu Kuangren's expression changed slightly. A murderous aura suddenly appeared in the air. Not far away, a sloppy man with a broken arm slowly walked up the mountain. This person's body was filled with extremely sharp sword qi, and the flowers and trees everywhere were all cut into pieces by the sword qi. It was a mess. Oh, it's you, Feng Wuchang. Honorable Qian glanced at the sloppy, middle-aged man and recognized him. Honorable Qian, you've accepted a good disciple. In the entire Black Heaven sect, he's the only one to protect you. Feng Wuchang glanced at Chu Kuangren and said indifferently, Hey, if it wasn't just me, would you dare to show yourselves? Chu Kuangren sneered. Then, he looked at the chopped flowers and trees behind him and said coldly, Even if it's just a blade of grass or a tree, it belongs to the Black Heaven sect. No one can touch it. As soon as he finished speaking, he suddenly raised his palm. Boundless energy of the earth gathered around him, and with a slap of his palm, a divine mountain instantly appeared. Feng Wuchang's expression changed slightly. He raised his hand and slashed out with his sword. The terrifying sword qi slashed onto the divine mountain, and the violent impact forced him to take a few steps back. What terrifying strength! Chu Kuangren truly lives up to his name, Feng Wuchang said solemnly. He had heard a lot of rumors about Chu Kuangren. Now that he was facing this peerless sky pride head-on, he felt a tremendous amount of pressure. When he thought of this, he became extremely jealous of Honorable Shen Qi. Why was it that he had sunk into a wine shop all these years, while the other party was a high and mighty master of an orthodoxy, even taking in a disciple like this? This was too unfair. Ha! Honorable Shen Qi, long time no see. Loud laughter could be heard as a sword ray flew towards them from afar. It landed in front of them and turned into a white-haired old man in a green robe. The sword chi around the old man was no weaker than Feng Wuchang's. Buzz, buzz. Suddenly, a buzzing sound could be heard from the void. It was as if countless swords were vibrating. A white-haired man walked up from the foot of the mountain, holding an ancient longsword in his hand. Honorable Swordsman of 1,000 Cries. Honorable Shen Qi revealed the man's identity. Ever since Honorable Swordsman White Cloud's death, Honorable Swordsman of 1,000 Cries Sword Dao cultivation base was second only to him in the Azure Dragon domain. Of course, that did not include Chu Kuangren. Hee. What a grand occasion. An old man wrapped in a black robe walked over. His body was surging with a majestic Taoist rhyme, like the endless waves of the sea. One by one, the experts appeared and surrounded the mountain peak. The atmosphere was extremely tense. Chu Kuangren activated his Eye of Revelation and scanned through the crowd. Looks like you guys brought quite a lot of people. The Jade Watersword Sect's senior elder, Feng Wuchang, Honorable Swordsman of 1,000 Cries, Honorable Zhuolang, and the others who caused trouble in the Black Heaven sect. There must be a mastermind behind this. Still not coming out? Chu Kuangren looked somewhere in the void. A ripple appeared and Ling Hu Hong walked out from the void, looking at Chu Kuangren with admiration. Little guy, we're here for your honorable teacher. It has nothing to do with you. You can save your life if you leave now. Are you out of your mind? If you're here for my honorable teacher, how can it have nothing to do with me? Chu Kuangren curled his lips and said. Ling Hu Hong's face darkened when he heard that. You don't know what's good for you. Boom! At that moment, the second heavenly tribulation struck towards Honorable Shen Qi. Everyone quickly looked over. They saw that the heavenly tribulation energy was still directed to the ground by the Thundersoother rod. The scene before them shocked Ling Hu Hong and the others. What is this? How can it direct the heavenly tribulation energy? What a great treasure! No wonder Honorable Shen Qi dared to go through the heavenly tribulation. It's because of this item. Ling Hu Hong and the others' hearts skipped a beat. They felt that things had developed beyond their expectations, because they did not know that the Black Heaven sect had such a treasure that was specifically designed to counter heavenly tribulations. Initially, they planned to attack Honorable Shen Qi after he was done with the heavenly tribulation and was exhausted. However, it seemed that he had such a treasure that he could definitely save most of his energy to deal with them. Haha, Ling Hu Hong, you've miscalculated. Today, you're destined to come to the Black Heaven sect without leaving. Honorable Shen Qi laughed and held the purple star in his hand, ready to deal with Ling Hu Hong and the others first. At that moment, Chu Kuangren stepped forward and stopped him. Honorable teacher, please save your energy to deal with the heavenly tribulation. Leave them to me. What? Not only Honorable Shen Qi, but Ling Hu Hong and the others were also stunned. There were a total of 5 of them here, and all of them were Honorable Supremes. Chu Kuangren actually said that he wanted to deal with all 5 of them alone? Who did he think he was? A sage? Arrogant. Honorable Swordsman of 1,000 Cries snorted coldly. I'll kill you today. I'll show Sword Prayer City and the whole world that your so-called number 1 position in the 100 Sword Spectrum is nothing but a joke. The 100 Sword Spectrum was widely recognized in the world of swordsmanship, but Chu Kuangren's ranking as number 1 had always been controversial. Honorable Swordsman of 1,000 Cries was one of the people who disapproved of it the most. Kill. Honorable Swordsman of 1,000 Cries made his move. With his first slash, majestic sword chi gushed out as if 1,000 swords had formed a giant sword. In the face of this attack, Chu Kuangren's expression was incomparably calm. The descendant's self-sword appeared in his hand, and a terrifying Taoist rhyme instantly erupted. With one slash, the sky-covering purple sword ray tore apart the giant sword shadow in almost an instant and blasted onto Honorable Swordsman of 1,000 Cries. The dignified Supreme Honorable Swordsman was directly blasted away by this slash. A large amount of sword chi wreaked havoc on Honorable Swordsman of 1,000 Cries' body. His clothes were torn apart, and sword wounds appeared on his body. In the blink of an eye, he was covered in blood and looked extremely pathetic. Just one slash was enough to make everyone's pupils shrink, severely injuring the Supreme Honorable Swordsman with one slash. What kind of terrifying strength was that? I'm the number one in the 100-sword spectrum, and you dare to object? Chapter 170. I'm ranked first in the sword spectrum. Do you dare to object? Chu Kuangren said calmly. He had severely injured Honorable Swordsman of 1,000 Cries with just one attack, and at the same time, intimidated the remaining 4 Honorable Supremes. The few of them stared at Chu Kuangren in disbelief. Each of them was an Honorable Supreme, and they were sky prides who dominated their own regions when they were young. However, they now felt that their so-called talent was not even worth mentioning in front of Chu Kuangren, severely injuring an Honorable Supreme with one attack. Since when was there such a monster in the younger generation? Let's attack together. Third forefather Linghu can't hold off the Black Heaven Sex Sage for too long. We must end this quickly, Linghu Hong said. He made a prompt decision and attacked Chu Kuangren. With one attack, the might of an Honorable Supreme was fully unleashed. Let me see the sword techniques of a swordsman family. Chu Kuangren chuckled and unleashed all 3 Taoist physique transformations. 9 Heaven Sword Prison, Green Lotus Sword Song, Sword of the Heavens. A terrifying sword-based Taoist rhyme surrounded Chu Kuangren, and a majestic spiritual power flowed within his body. Every time he swung his sword, the terrifying power brought great pressure to Linghu Hong. Moreover, Chu Kuangren's understanding of Tao techniques was too deep, and his exquisite 9 orifices sword heart directly suppressed Linghu Hong's sword-based Taoist rhyme. If Linghu Hong was not a veteran Honorable Supreme who was far stronger than Honorable Swordsman of 1,000 Cries, he would not be able to withstand more than a few attacks from Chu Kuangren. I've long heard of how amazing Chu Kuangren is, but this level of strength is just too ridiculous. Even the young emperor of my Linghu family does not have such combat strength. I can't believe the Black Heaven sect has such a monster. Linghu Hong was extremely shocked. At that moment, Honorable Zhuolang, the Jade Water Sword sect's senior elder, and Feng Wuchang also attacked Chu Kuangren together with Linghu Hong. In an instant, all kinds of Tao techniques shone brightly and shook the void. Not far away, Honorable Swordsman of 1,000 Cries took out a medicinal pill and swallowed it. His face turned pale as he watched Chu Kuangren, who was facing off against 4 Honorable Supremes all by himself. I can't believe this person is so strong. Honorable Swordsman of 1,000 Cries had seen all kinds of sky prides, but he swore that no one could compare to Chu Kuangren. I admit it. You are indeed worthy of being ranked first in the sword spectrum, but Xian Qi will definitely fail his tribulation today. While Chu Kuangren was busy dealing with 4 Honorable Supremes, Honorable Swordsman of 1,000 Cries dashed towards Honorable Swordsman Xian Qi. The other party had just completed the 3rd heavenly tribulation. What Venerable Swordsman of 1,000 Cries wanted to do was to exhaust the other party's stamina as much as possible, so that the other party would fail the heavenly tribulation. During the battle, Chu Kuangren had also noticed Honorable Swordsman of 1,000 Cries' whereabouts. A cold glint flashed across his eyes. You're courting death, aren't you? A black chain suddenly flew out of his body, streaking across the sky like a black bolt of lightning. Venerable Swordsman of 1,000 Cries, who was charging towards Honorable Xian Qi, felt a chill run down his spine. His scalp went numb and the blood in his body almost froze. Danger! It was extremely dangerous. Honorable Swordsman of 1,000 Cries quickly turned around and slashed with his sword. The sword Qi hit the soul retriever and sent it flying. However, the soul retriever was a sage ruler weapon and was made of very special materials. Even a sage might not be able to damage it at all. The sword Qi of venerable swordsman of 1,000 cries could not destroy the chain. It circled in the air for a while and continued to attack him as if it had a consciousness of its own. What the hell is this thing? Honorable swordsman of 1,000 cries dodged the soul retriever. His instincts told him that if he were to be hooked by the chain, he would not end up well. Chu Kuangren pulled the other end of the soul retriever and manipulated it to chase after honorable swordsman of 1,000 cries. The soul retriever was very special. It was as if it could extend indefinitely, so it could catch up to honorable swordsman of 1,000 cries no matter where he ran to. Not long after, the length of the chain had reached more than 10 kilometers. It circled in the air and emanated a strange fluctuation. Not only that, but honorable swordsman of 1,000 cries was also trapped in the encirclement formed by the chain. The area where he could dodge was getting smaller and smaller. "Quick! Stop him!" Honorable swordsman of 1,000 cries yelled. Ling Hu Hong, Feng Wuchang, and the others hurriedly activated their ultimate techniques. Several different Taoist rhymes and majestic spiritual powers suddenly erupted. Soaring destruction, torrential waves, winds of impermanence, ever-flowing emerald water. 3 surges of sword Qi and 1 palm Qi blasted towards Chu Kuangren. This was the combined attack of 4 honorable supremes, and it was extremely powerful. White lotus light of purification. Chu Kuangren stood still on the spot. Suddenly, white lotuses appeared around him and swayed in the air. It was a beautiful sight to behold. When the 4 surges of energy collided with the white lotuses, there was no earth-shattering explosion. The white lotuses were shattered one by one, but the techniques that Ling Hu Hong and the other 3 honorable supremes had unleashed were also disintegrated. Taoist rhymes and spiritual Qi intertwined and collided in the air, and eventually, everything returned to nothingness. Not far away, honorable swordsman of 1,000 cries finally could not hide anymore. He was tightly entangled by the soul retriever, and the hook at the end of the chain pierced into his body. However, there was no sign of blood at all. The hook was like a large demonic hand that stirred in honorable swordsman of 1,000 cries' body. Honorable swordsman of 1,000 cries first let out a tragic cry, and then his eyes gradually became empty. What's going on? There's something strange about this black chain. Ling Hu Hong and the others stared at honorable swordsman of 1,000 cries, and then they saw a scene that made their scalps tingle. They saw that the hook had actually grabbed another honorable swordsman of 1,000 cries' body. To be precise, it was his soul. Why is this happening? My physical body. What the hell is this thing? Honorable swordsman of 1,000 cries watched helplessly as his soul was pulled out of his physical body. His face was filled with horror. Chu Kuangren raised his hand and activated the gluttonous devouring technique, sucking honorable swordsman of 1,000 cries' physical body into the avarice dimension for refinement, turning it into an incomparably pure flesh and blood essence. The spiritual power that was originally more than half consumed was quickly replenished. This chain can target the soul. D*eminent. Why does he have such a thing? Ling Hu Hong and the others were so scared that their faces turned a little pale. Methods that targeted the soul were too rare and too terrifying. Kuangren really has a lot of treasures on him. I can't believe he even has such a weapon that targets the soul, Honorable Xian Qi murmured. Then he shook his head and smiled, not planning to ask about it later. He was sure that Chu Kuangren would only answer him with 2 words, and that was, opportunity of fortune. Although he knew that Chu Kuangren had secrets in his heart, the other party was also his good disciple. So Honorable Xian Qi chose to believe him unconditionally. Chu Kuangren held the soul retriever in one hand and the descendant self sword in the other as he looked at the few honorable supremes in front of him. From the moment you chose to come to the Black Heavens sect to stop my honorable teacher from ascension, you were destined to fail. Today, my honorable teacher will successfully ascend and become a sage in the future, and all of you will stay here. Chu Kuangren said coldly and then pulled the soul retriever hard. Honorable swordsman of 1,000 cries soul let out a heart-wrenching scream as cracks appeared on his soul. Then, it exploded silently, and his soul was scattered. No, this chain is too terrifying. Moreover, Chu Kuangren's combat strength cannot be underestimated. A long battle is disadvantageous. Looks like I can only use the item given by the third forefather. Ling Hu Hong gritted his teeth and then took out a small golden sword. A mysterious sword-based Taoist rhyme emanated from it. Chapter 171. Ling Hu Hong took out a small golden sword, and a mysterious sword-based Taoist rhyme filled the air, shocking everyone present. Venerable Zhuo Lang, Feng Wuchang, and the others couldn't help but take several steps back. Honorable Xian Qi's expression changed slightly. Heart-piercing sword. That's right, it's the heart-piercing sword. Ling Hu Hong sneered. The heart-slaying sword was a saint ruler technique of the Ling Hu family. Only a few people in the entire Ling Hu family had been able to successfully comprehend it. This sword could pry open one's Tao heart, kill and destroy the heart. The third ancestor left me this heart-slaying sword. I wanted to use it against you, but I didn't expect it to be used on your disciple. Without saying a word, Ling Hu Hong threw the small golden sword in his hand. Kuangren, be careful. Honorable Xian Qi's expression changed, and he was about to rush out of the Thundersoother rod to block the sword Qi. However, at this moment, his heavenly tribulation descended and a pillar of light shrouded his body, preventing him from leaving. Buzz! The golden sword pierced through the void at an incredible speed and instantly pierced into Chu Kuangren's body, causing him to tremble slightly. Ling Hu Hong and the others were delighted to see this. This is the heart-killing sword used by a sage. Those who do not have a strong enough Taoist heart, even if they are an honorable supreme, will be instantly torn apart by the sword Qi. Ling Hu Hong laughed heartily. This is the heart-killing sword? It's nothing much. However, at that moment, Chu Kuangren's calm voice slowly rang out. Ling Hu Hong's smile suddenly froze. Then, he looked at Chu Kuangren with his eyes and mouth wide open. His face was filled with shock. Impossible. This is impossible. How could you block the heart-killing sword with your cultivation? Ling Hu Hong could not believe it. The heart-killing sword can kill people's hearts. Have you never thought that your so-called third ancestor can't destroy my Tao heart? Chu Kuangren said indifferently. He possessed the bolder Tao heart, which was difficult to shake. In the past, the mental staircase of the Whitelock Saint could not do anything to him at all, and the same was true for the heart-killing sword. As for Ling Hu Hong and the others, they had also guessed something and were shocked. How could a junior have such a Taoist heart? Chu Kuangren's innate talent and unshakable Taoist core. This Chu Kuangren is a monster. Honorable Zhuo Lang gulped. He regretted it. He regretted coming to the Black Heaven sect. Now, it was difficult to even escape. Boom! A heavenly tribulation descended and blasted towards Honorable Xian Qi. The Thundersoother rod directed the energy of the heavenly tribulation to the ground, but a portion of the energy was already attacking Honorable Xian Qi. However, this portion of the heavenly tribulation's power could not affect him. Chu Kuangren glanced at him and chuckled. Honorable teacher, continue with your ascension in peace. I can deal with these small fries. He lightly tugged on the Soul Reaper chain, and the pitch-black chain emanated a strange aura as it shot towards Feng Wuchang. After witnessing the might of the soul-reaping chain, Feng Wuchang's face changed drastically. Sword Qi revolved around his body to block the soul-reaping chain. However, as Chu Kuangren channeled his spiritual power into the soul retriever, the hook at the end of the chain began to emanate waves of terrifying dark Qi. The sword Qi shattered, and the chains wrapped around Feng Wuchang. He had a terrified expression on his face and wanted to escape, but he couldn't break free from the chains. Go! Supremacy Zhuo Lang no longer wanted to get involved in this mess. He turned into a streak of light and fled into the distance. At that moment, a streak of sword light surged and sent Supremacy Zhuo Lang flying back. It was the seventh forefather. He glared at them coldly. Today, all those who came to cause trouble in the Black Heaven sect shall not return alive. D***MN. Get lost. Supremacy Zhualang attacked ferociously, and a majestic Taoist rhyme erupted. Chu Kuangren tugged on the Soul Reaper chain, and Feng Wuchang's soul was also hooked out, shattered into pieces. Both the Jade Watersword sect's senior elder and Ling Hu Hong were extremely afraid of the Soul Reaper chain. Unwilling to face it head-on, they exchanged a glance and attacked Chu Kuangren from both sides, trying to fight for a chance of survival. Humph! Idiots! Chu Kuangren snorted coldly. With one hand, he controlled the Soul Reaper chain to fight the Jade Watersword sect's senior elder, while the other wielded his sword to fight Ling Hu Hong. He was able to fight on equal footing with both of them at the same time. As time passed, the troublemakers that Ling Hu Hong and the others sent to cause trouble in the Black Heaven sect were dealt with one by one. Elder Ruyan and the others finally arrived. The people of the Ling Hu family are despicable. Humph, go to hell. With the addition of Elder Ruyan and the others, Ling Hu Hong and the others could be said to have lost the upper hand. The Jade Watersword sect's senior elder had to deal with the Soul Reaper chain while fighting the Black Heaven sect's honorable. In the end, he was caught by the Soul Reaper chain, and his soul was torn apart. It was the first time Elder Ruyan and the others had seen the Soul Reaper chain. They were also shocked by the weapon and felt their scalps tingle. Fortunately, this weapon is in Kuangren's hands. If it were an enemy, the consequences would be unimaginable, Elder Ruyan said. Yeah. I wonder where the lead disciple got it from. I know it must have been obtained by chance. Elder Ruyan said with a smile. The other elders rolled their eyes. What she said was as good as not saying anything. Die, Ling Hu Hong. Chu Kuangren raised his hand and unleashed a sword attack. A surge of Emperor's aura filled the air. It was the heaven-slaying sword-drawing technique that had been upgraded to an Emperor technique. Faced with this attack, even a veteran Honorable Supreme like Ling Hu Hong could not withstand it. He yelled, "Third Forefather, save me. Stop." A slightly angry voice came from the void. However, Chu Kuangren did not have any intention of stopping. He slashed his sword and a violent purple sword ray instantly engulfed Ling Hu Hong. A supreme being had perished and his Tao extinguished. The void trembled. A white-robed elder stepped into the void with a boundless aura. This person's aura was far stronger than an honorable supreme. This was the sage aura. He was a sage. I told you to stop, why didn't you? The white-robed elder stared at Chu Kuangren with anger in his eyes. Facing the sage aura, Chu Kuangren was neither humble nor arrogant. He deserves to die for coming to the Black Heaven sect and trying to disrupt my honorable teacher's ascension. That's right, he deserves to die. Behind Chu Kuangren, a white-haired elder slowly walked out. He patted Chu Kuangren's shoulder and smiled. Young man, you did well. You're right too. You should address me as Third Forefather. Third Forefather. Black Heaven's Third Forefather. The sage behind the Black Heaven sect. Chu Kuangren's expression turned serious. Greetings, Third Forefather. Hey, you're welcome. Black Heaven's Third Forefather smiled faintly and then looked at the white-robed elder in the sky. Third Forefather Ling Hu, the juniors of your clan have come to Black Heaven sect to cause trouble. They deserve to die. What, do you still want to fight? You! Third Forefather Ling Hu was speechless. They were in the wrong in the first place, but it was impossible for them to sit back and watch as the Black Heaven sect gained another sage. Initially, with him holding off Black Heaven's Third Forefather, Ling Hu Hong and the other Honorable Supremes, they would definitely be able to stop Honorable Shen Qi from ascension. Who would have thought that Chu Kuangren would appear? While the rest of the Black Heaven sect was busy dealing with other people, this young man could fight against 5 Honorable Supremes alone. At this moment, to Third Forefather Ling Hu, Honorable Shen Qi was far less of a threat than Chu Kuangren, who was only in the Battle Monarch realm. Black Heaven sect, you guys sure are lucky. Third Forefather Ling Hu gritted his teeth and said, whether it was Honorable Shen Qi's ascension or having a disciple like Chu Kuangren, the Black Heaven sect could be considered lucky. However, it was not good news for the Linghu clan. Chapter 172. Boom! Another wave of heavenly tribulation descended. This was Honorable Xian Qi's seventh wave of heavenly tribulation. At this time, the power of the heavenly tribulation was extremely strong. Even the Thundersoother could not direct all of the power of the heavenly tribulation to the ground. After the seventh wave of heavenly tribulation descended, the majestic impact directly flattened the entire mountain, and the Thundersoother was also sent flying. At this point, Honorable Xian Qi was completely exposed to the heavenly tribulation. Everyone present stared at him without blinking. Third forefather Linghu was the same. Although the operation had failed, he was not in a hurry to leave. Instead, he stayed to see if Honorable Xian Qi could successfully overcome the heavenly tribulation. Old friend, let's fight side by side again. Honorable Xian Qi held the purple star, and the sword-based Taoist rhymes on his body continued to rise. He had activated the heavenly crepe myrtle sword technique to the extreme. He looked at the eighth wave of heavenly tribulation that was accumulating power with a solemn expression. A beam of light descended and locked onto Honorable Xian Qi. Immediately after, the eighth wave of heavenly tribulation descended, and the violent power it contained made Elder Ruyan and the others feel a wave of fear. Come! Honorable Xian Qi raised his hand and slashed. A terrifying purple sword light surged out wildly. It was the heaven-slaying sword-drawing technique. He had successfully comprehended this sage ruler technique, and with his honorable supreme cultivation base, it seemed like the world was about to be torn apart. The sword light and lightning collided in the void. The terrifying shockwaves spread out like a tide, wave after wave, constantly sweeping in all directions. Trees, rocks, and everything around them were destroyed. Honorable Xian Qi was sent flying by the impact, and a huge pit was formed on the ground, with countless cracks spreading out. In the pit, Honorable Xian Qi's robe was torn, and blood flowed from the corner of his mouth. There were electric arcs jumping on his body, constantly destroying it. The power of the eighth wave of heavenly tribulation is beyond imagination. Honorable Xian Qi murmured. Just one blow was enough to injure him quite a bit. With his current physical condition, he might not be able to overcome the last wave of heavenly tribulation. Third forefather Linghu's eyes lit up. He kept cursing Honorable Xian Qi for failing to overcome the heavenly tribulation. Honorable Xian Qi stood up, took out a golden pill, and swallowed it. A huge wave of medicinal power instantly swept through his limbs and bones. Waves of Taoist rhymes filled the air, and his injuries were rapidly recovering. Third forefather Linghu was dumbfounded. This is a sage-to-be healing elixir? Third forefather Linghu exclaimed in astonishment. That's not right. Even a quasi-sage healing pill doesn't have this kind of effect. This is at least a quasi-sage treasure pill, and it's at least a grade 7 treasure pill. There were not many alchemists in the entire firmament star who could refine sage-grade medicinal pills, let alone quasi-sage grade supreme pills and above. Where did Xian Tian sect find such an alchemist? The pills refined by Kuangren are indeed very useful. Honorable Xian Qi laughed heartily as sword qi emanated from his body. He was ready to face the ninth wave of heavenly tribulation with his full strength. Rumble, rumble. Dark clouds surged, and the power of lightning surged wildly. The light of heavenly tribulation locked onto Honorable Xian Qi once again. A ferocious beast made of thick lightning energy crawled out of the dark cloud vortex. It looked a little like a dragon. The thunder dragon roared, and a terrifying aura emanated from it. Then, the thunder dragon swooped down towards Honorable Xian Qi. Wherever it went, the void trembled violently, and the mountains and rivers trembled. This attack had reached the level of a sage's attack. Elder Ruyan and the others were worried. No wonder so many people are afraid of ascension. This ninth wave of tribulation is so powerful. How can an honorable withstand it? Only those veteran honorable supremes with deep foundations can withstand it. But there are still 8 more waves of tribulation before that. Ascension is indeed a narrow escape. Chu Kuangren, who was watching from the side, also broke out in cold sweat for Honorable Xian Qi. He wished he could rush up and take his place. With his strength and immortal body, he was not afraid at all. However, even if he rushed up, the power of tribulation would not let Honorable Xian Qi go. There was a high chance that both of them would have to endure an even more terrifying power of tribulation. Heavenly tribulations were unavoidable and irreplaceable. In the face of this last wave of tribulation, Honorable Xian Qi roared. He did not choose to draw his sword, but instead took out a bronze shield. The shield was placed horizontally in front of him and became huge, blocking the thunder dragon. All that was heard was a deafening explosion. Then cracks appeared on the shield. Honorable Xian Qi's pupils shrank slightly. He did not expect that the item he had carefully prepared for ascension would not be able to withstand the 9th heavenly tribulation. The shield shattered, and the thunder dragon crashed into Honorable Xian Qi's body like a hot knife through butter. He urged the sword qi in his body to resist, but there was still a large amount of lightning energy ravaging his body. At this critical moment, Honorable Xian Qi bit the 2 rejuvenation pills that he had previously kept in his mouth. The medicinal power erupted and healed his body. It was like a tug of war, causing Honorable Xian Qi to repeatedly jump on the edge of life and death. In the end, because Honorable Xian Qi had preserved most of his spiritual power and physical strength, coupled with the medicinal power of the rejuvenation pills, he finally survived the last wave of tribulation. We did it! Haha, that's great! Elder Ruyan and the others were relieved and overjoyed. The dark clouds in the sky dissipated and were replaced by purple auspicious clouds. Between the firmament, waves of Taoist rhymes reverberated. Honorable Xian Qi stood where he was. Suddenly, an incomparably mysterious feeling emerged in his heart, and the Taoist rhymes on his body continued to strengthen. At this moment, all the powerhouses in the world seemed to have sensed something and looked in the direction of the Black Heaven sect. Oh, someone has passed the heavenly tribulation. As long as this person doesn't die, another sage will be born in this world in the future. That's the direction of the Black Heaven sect. Humph, the Black Heaven sect is really lucky. Inside the Black Heaven sect, third forefather Ling Hu's expression was extremely ugly. He scoffed coldly and was about to leave. At this moment, a sage Taoist rhyme locked onto him, brewing a terrifying killing intent that made his heart skip a beat. It was Black Heaven's third forefather. You came just like that, and now you plan to leave just like that? Don't you think the Ling Hu family has no respect for the Black Heaven sect? Humph, take it. Third forefather Ling Hu took out a yin and yang ring and tossed it to third forefather Black Heaven. Yo, 60 million upper-tier soul stones and 30 drops of heaven spiritual marrow. You're treating me like a beggar. Third forefather Black Heaven's expression turned cold. Don't go too far. These things are enough to cause countless orthodoxies to fight over them. Isn't that enough? Not enough. It's far from enough. Then what else do you want? The Black Heaven sect wants another spot for the sword gauntlet. Impossible. Third forefather Ling Hu said coldly. Very well, the Ling Hu family will lose a sage today. Third forefather Black Heaven said coldly. From afar, a terrifying burst of qi erupted from the depths of the Black Heaven sect and locked onto third forefather Ling Hu. Black Heaven's second forefather. That old fart isn't dead yet. Third forefather Ling Hu's expression changed. He then gritted his teeth and said with a pained expression, "Fine. The Ling Hu family will give you one more spot. Words alone are no proof. Swear on your Taoist core." The so-called Taoist core oath was to swear on one's Taoist core and let the great Tao bear witness to it. Once the oath was broken, one's Taoist core would be tarnished, making it difficult for one's cultivation base to improve. In the worst-case scenario, one would be haunted by inner demons and never be able to find peace for the rest of their lives. Even demonic cultivators were extremely wary of this Taoist core oath. Third forefather Ling Hu had no choice but to obediently swear on his Taoist core oath and leave in a sullen manner. This time, not only did the Linghu family fail to prevent the Black Heaven sect from gaining another boundary sage, but they also lost an honorable supreme, a large number of soul stones, and even an important spot. Chapter 173. Honorable Shen Qi had completed his ascension and successfully entered the boundary sage realm. As long as he worked hard, becoming a sage was just around the corner. Shen Qi, congratulations. Black Heaven's third forefather smiled at Honorable Shen Qi. Haha, this is all thanks to Kuangren. Without him and the interference of the Linghu family, things would not have been so easy. Honorable Shen Qi laughed. He looked at Chu Kuangren with a gratified look. This young man is indeed talented. I've asked the Linghu family for an additional quota for the sword gauntlet, so I'll let him lead the team. A quota for the sword gauntlet? That's great. Honorable Shen Qi's eyes lit up. Beside him, Chu Kuangren was a little confused. This so-called sword gauntlet seemed to be very important to even the sages. However, he temporarily suppressed his doubts. Although Honorable Shen Qi had completed his ascension, this matter was not over yet. Other than the Linghu family, there were also a few forces that came to Black Heaven sect to stir up trouble. The Black Heaven sect would not let these forces go. They would have to deal with them. Among them, the Jadewater sect was the strongest. It was an honorable orthodoxy that was second only to the sage orthodoxies. Naturally, the Black Heaven sect would not let them go. They immediately sent people to suppress this force, and the one leading them was Chu Kuangren. On the ferry boat, Chu Kuangren stood on the deck and looked at the sea of clouds. What a tiring life I have. I just finished dealing with the demonic onslaught in the Qian nation, and now I have to help my honorable teacher with his ascension. Now I have to suppress an honorable orthodoxy. How inhumane. He looked up to the sky and sighed helplessly. Beside him, the seventh forefather smiled and said, "The sect leader must have his reasons for doing this. Young man, do you know that now that the sect leader has stepped into the boundary sage realm, the next step is to slowly build up his foundation to become a sage? This is a long process. If there are no other opportunities, it could take a few hundred years or a few thousand years. The less disturbances, the better. I'm afraid the sect leader has decided to retire." Chu Kuangren was stunned. If he retires, what will happen to the Black Heaven sect? Has the next sect leader been decided? He had only asked casually, but when he saw the seventh forefather staring straight at him, his heart skipped a beat. With a face full of bewilderment, he pointed a finger at himself. "Can't be me, right? It's you. Damn. What kind of joke is this? You want me to be the sect leader? There are so many elders in the sect. Elder Ruyan would be fine too. You have enough prestige, enough power, and you're the only disciple of the sect leader. If I don't look for you, who else would I look for?" The seventh patriarch laughed. "I'm just a battle king. Tell that to the others and see who will believe you." The seventh forefather could not help but roll his eyes. "Stop teasing me. You are a battle king, but you can hang a supreme honorable being up and beat him up. Sending you here to suppress the Jade Watersword sect is also a way for you to practice your skills and build up your reputation in the outside world. This will pave the way for you to ascend to the position of sect leader in the future." The seventh forefather continued. "Sai will see." Chu Kuangren shook his head helplessly. Within the Jade Watersword sect, a few elders were pacing back and forth anxiously. What should we do now? According to the news, the Great Elder has been killed in the Black Heaven sect. The Black Heaven sect will not let us go. An elder said anxiously. We should have stopped the Great Elder back then and not allowed him to act on his emotions. Now he's stirred up such a huge disaster. That's right. Let's think about how to deal with the Black Heaven sect first. How are we going to deal with them alone? Enough! At that moment, a woman in green robes shouted and stopped the crowd. She was the current sect leader of the Jade Watersword sect. What are you panicking for? The Jade Watersword sect will not perish. The Jade Watersword sect leader said coldly. Sect leader, do you have any ideas? Young Emperor Linghu is still here. He promised to protect the Jade Water Sword sect. Let him handle this, the Jade Water Sword sect leader said. The elders felt slightly relieved when they heard that. If they were to fight the Black Heaven sect alone, they would definitely lose. However, things would be different if young Emperor Linghu was included. The Jade Water Sword sect represented the Linghu family, which was also a sage orthodoxy. Even the Black Heaven sect would have to think twice. In a garden of the Jade Water Sword sect, a young man in a black robe was strolling with a smiling young lady. The young lady was very close to the young man and seemed to be on good terms with him. Big brother Linghu, thanks to your guidance, I've improved a lot. The young lady smiled. The young man in black robes had a gentle look in his eyes. It's my duty. All right, Lu Yen, I'll be returning to the Linghu family in a few days. Are you willing to go with me? The young lady was pleasantly surprised when she heard that. Really? Big brother Linghu, you're really willing to bring me back to the Linghu family? Of course. You're my woman. Where else would you go if not to the Linghu family? Don't worry, you're very talented. With my guidance, you'll definitely break through to the honorable level in a few years. Big brother Linghu, you're so good to me. Lu Yen hugged the young man in black robes, her eyes filled with tenderness. Silly girl. Who else would I be good to if not you? The young man in black robes smiled. At that moment he frowned slightly. Not far away, a Jade Water Sword sect leader slowly walked over and bowed. Greetings, young emperor. Lu Yen blushed and let go of the young man in black robes. She then said to the Jade Water Sword sect leader, Sect leader, you're here. Yes, I have a favor to ask of you, young emperor. Speak. The young man in black robes said. The people from the Black Heaven sect are about to reach the Jade Water Sword sect. With our current strength, it'll be difficult to stop them. I hope the young emperor can lend us a hand. Don't worry about that. My uncle has an agreement with the Jade Water Sword sect. Although he's now dead in the Black Heaven sect, the Linghu family will still honor our promise. Besides, Lu Yen is here too. Big brother Linghu. Lu Yen was touched again. Thank you, young emperor. The Jade Water Sword sect leader's eyes lit up. Then, she thought of something and said, By the way, the person who brought them here is Chu Kuangren. A hint of surprise flashed across Linghu's young emperor's eyes. Chu Kuangren? The legendary Chu Kuangren who's ranked first in the 100 sword spectrum? Yes, that's him. Big brother Linghu, I've heard that this person is very powerful. Why don't you ask for help from your family? Lu Yen said worriedly. Although Linghu's young emperor was afraid of Chu Kuangren, he could not show his fear in front of his woman. He sneered and said, Chu Kuangren, I've long wanted to meet this person. Now that I have the chance today, how can I miss it? Let me see what he's made of. Looking at Linghu's young emperor's high-spirited look, Lu Yen could not help but admire him. Big brother Linghu, I believe you can defeat Chu Kuangren. In my heart, you're the strongest. That's only natural. At that moment, the ferry boat from the Black Heaven sect had arrived at the Jade Water Sword sect's airspace. Many cultivators saw the flying flag on the ferry boat and knew that it was the ferry boat of the Sage Orthodoxy, the Black Heaven sect. There were also sword cultivators standing on the ferry boat. Every single one of them was emanating an extremely sharp sword chi, and they looked very imposing. Chapter 174. Those are the people from the Black Heaven sect. Why are they here? And why are there so many of them? What are they doing here? They're all sword cultivators. Heavens! 1, 2, 3. There's a total of 18 ferry boats, and there are at least 100 sword cultivators on each ferry boat. Judging from the way these sword cultivators are trained, they're the disciples from the Hall of Battle who are the best at combat in Black Heaven sect. What are they doing? This is the territory of the Green Water Sword sect. Do they want to start a war with the Jade Water Sword sect? Oh my god! This is big news. All the cultivators who saw the Black Heaven sect's ferry boats were scared out of their wits. Even though the ferry boats were far away from them, they could still feel the sword chi that filled the sky. It was too scary. On the ferry boat, A Hall of Battle disciple walked up to Chu Kuangren and said respectfully, "Elder Senior Brother, the Jade Water sect is just ahead." Chu Kuangren nodded slightly. Understood. Not long after, Chu Kuangren had a full view of the Jade Water Sword sect. Surrounded by mountains and water, it was indeed a treasure land. Unfortunately, this treasured land was going to see blood today. Inside the Jade Water Sword sect, countless disciples saw the mighty Black Heaven sect's ferry boat and the sword cultivators with sharp sword auras. What's going on? Why are there people from the mysterious Sky sect here? And they don't look like they've come with good intentions. No way. The Jade Water sect is a top-notch honorable orthodoxy. Does the Black Heaven sect want to declare war on us? Why are you doing this for no reason? Most of the disciples had no idea that the Jade Water Sword sect's Grand Elder had gone to the Shen Heaven sect to cause trouble. Only a few of the higher-ups were not surprised to see what had happened, and their expressions were grave. He's finally here. Whether or not the Jade Water Sword sect can survive this ordeal depends on the will of the heavens. Buzz buzz. At that moment, the space above the Jade Water Sword sect suddenly twisted. A huge light shield formed above the sect like an upside-down bowl. This is the great protective formation of the Jade Water Sword sect. Many orthodoxies had similar mechanisms, but they were usually not used lightly. They would only be activated in times of crisis. This was undoubtedly a moment of life and death for the Jade Water Sword sect. After the formation was activated, a green figure flew out. It was a beautiful woman, and she was none other than the leader of the Jade Water Sword sect. Fellow Taoists of the Black Heaven sect, why have you come from afar? The sect master of the Green Water sect smiled faintly and asked despite knowing the answer. Chu Kuangren curled his lips and stepped out into the air. With every step he took, the sword-based Taoist rhymes on his body grew denser, crashing against the void like a tidal wave, crashing towards the sect master of Green Water. Below them, the Jade Water sect disciples saw Chu Kuangren. Although they were enemies now, they could not help but be attracted by Chu Kuangren's fairy-like appearance and extraordinary temperament. So this person is Chu Kuangren. He really is extraordinary. It is rumored that this person is ranked first in the 100-sword spectrum and has even killed a supreme being. His strength is extremely powerful. I never expected that he would personally come. Looks like this isn't a simple matter. Even the immortals in the heavens are only SOSO. Do you think it's too late for me to defect to the enemy? Among the crowd, Lu Yen had also noticed Chu Kuangren. A look of amazement flashed across her eyes. She then looked at the young emperor of Linghu beside him and felt that he was much better looking than Linghu. Despite thinking that, she let out a soft snort. You're just a man of appearance. Compared to brother Linghu, you're nothing. Linghu's young emperor felt much better upon hearing that. Lu Yen is right. A man of appearance is nothing compared to me. Yes, brother Linghu is the best. If the sect master of Green Water heard their conversation, she would definitely curse out loud. This was because compared to the others, she was more aware of how terrifying Chu Kuangren was. That terrifying sword-based Taoist rhyme locked onto her, making her, an honorable supreme, shudder. Was this the Taoist rhyme that a man of appearance could possess? Bulsh *T. Rumor has it that Chu Kuangren's cultivation level is not high, but he can spar with a sage. How terrifying! The sect master of Green Water looked at the white-robed Chu Kuangren before her, and cold sweat broke out on her smooth forehead. Chu Kuangren looked at the sect master of Green Water sect and said indifferently, "You should know very well why we're here today. Now, I'll give you two choices. 1. Submit to the Black Heaven sect and pay tribute every year. 2. Send the entire sect to hell." The sect master of Green Water sect's expression changed drastically when she heard the second choice. Isn't the Black Heaven sect a little too overbearing? Besides, what the senior elder did has nothing to do with us. It's all his doing alone. She then took out a letter. This was left behind by the senior elder before he left. It clearly states that he has completely severed all ties with the Jade Water Sword sect, and that whatever he did has nothing to do with us. Chu Kuangren did not even bother to look at the letter. You can say whatever you want since the person is dead. Not to mention one letter, even if you take out 10 or 100 of them, who knows if they're fake or not. The senior elder's Taoist rhyme is on this letter. Can't be faked. Heh, it's just a Taoist rhyme. What can it prove? Even if he really did write this letter, why didn't the Jade Watersword sect announce it to the world at the first instance? Now that he's dead after causing a ruckus in the Black Heaven sect, you're only taking out this letter to shirk all responsibility? Do you really think it's that easy? Besides, if you're not guilty, why did you activate the sect's mega protective formation the moment we arrived? Chu Kuangren said coldly. The Jade Watersword sect's sect master's expression was extremely ugly. F***CK. How could we not activate the mega protective formation when you're making such a big fuss about it? What if you suddenly attack? Of course, the Jade Watersword sect's sect master knew that it was useless to say anything like that. Chu Kuangren's attitude was already clear. No matter what they said or what so-called evidence they brought out, the Jade Watersword sect only had two choices before them. They could either surrender and become a vassal, or they could destroy the entire sect. Haha, seeing is believing. Chu Kuangren's reputation is indeed well-deserved. Just then, a burst of laughter rang out. Ling Hu's young emperor leaped into the air and exited the sect's mega protective formation, arriving before Chu Kuangren. Suddenly, his expression changed and his pupils shrank as he stared at Chu Kuangren in fear. Only when he exited the mega protective formation did he feel Chu Kuangren's terrifying sword-based Taoist rhyme. His heart shuddered. The Jade Watersword sect is under the protection of the Ling Hu family. Ling Hu's young emperor also activated his Taoist rhyme and said coldly. Chu Kuangren glanced at him. You can represent the Ling Hu family? I'm the Ling Hu family's young emperor, Ling Hu Tung. Do you think I can represent the Ling Hu family? Ling Hu Tung said proudly. Oh, so you're a young emperor. Chu Kuangren came to a sudden realization. He then raised his hand and unleashed a palm attack. The violent palm energy blasted Ling Hu Tung hundreds of feet away. If your sage can't even protect the Jade Watersword sect, what more a mere young emperor like you? Chu Kuangren said indifferently. Chu Kuangren, how dare you attack me? Ling Hu Tung's expression was cold as ice. A sword appeared in his hand and he raised his hand to unleash a slash. An incredibly sharp Taoist rhyme emanated as thousands of sword chi converged into a tornado that rushed towards Chu Kuangren. Chapter 175. The sword chi intertwined to form a violent tornado. Upon seeing that, Chu Kuangren raised his hand and unleashed a palm attack. The human mountain strength instantly exploded and shattered the tornado of sword chi. What? Ling Hu Tung's expression changed in disbelief. I don't know where you get the courage to stand before me as a mere clone, Chu Kuangren said calmly. The Taoist runes in his eyes swirled as he analyzed Ling Hu Tung thoroughly. The one before him was not Ling Hu Tung's real body, but a clone that was created using a special technique. You can tell that this is a clone. Ling Hu Tung's eyes revealed a hint of surprise. Even the sect master of Jadewater could not tell that he was a clone, yet Chu Kuangren could. Humph. Even if this is a clone, I can still defeat you. Ling Hu Tung yelled as surges of sword chi flew out from his body. They intertwined around his body to form a giant sword shadow that radiated endless divine light towards Chu Kuangren. The power of that sword attack was enough to rival an honorable. A clone to defeat me? What kind of joke is that? Chu Kuangren raised his hand and gathered his spiritual power. The majestic earth chi turned into a godly mountain that crushed the sword chi and landed directly on Ling Hu Tung's body. A mist of blood erupted as Ling Hu Tung was blasted apart. Countless Jadewater sect disciples were horrified. Although Ling Hu Tung was just a clone, he was still extremely terrifying to them. Even the most outstanding Taoist of Jadewater sect did not stand a chance against him. However, he was blasted apart by Chu Kuangren with a single palm attack. Brother Ling Hu. In the crowd, Lu Yan's face was filled with grief and anger. Chu Kuangren had promised to bring her back to the Ling Hu clan. As long as she had the Ling Hu clan's help, Her meteoric rise was just around the corner. However, all of that hope had vanished into thin air along with Chu Kuangren's palm attack. In the air, the sect master of Jadewater was also shocked by Chu Kuangren's shocking combat strength. As an honorable supreme, she knew that she would not be able to withstand Chu Kuangren's palm attack unscathed. Furthermore, that was not even Chu Kuangren's full strength. Perhaps not even half of it, because his opponent had not even drawn his sword. The Linghu clan cannot protect the Jadewater sect. Now make your choice. Chu Kuangren stood with his hands behind his back. Behind him, the group of Hall of Battle disciples unleashed their monstrous sword chi, pressuring the sect master. Under such circumstances, the expression of the sect master of the Green Water sect kept changing. In the end, he sighed helplessly. "We submit." "A wise move," Chu Kuangren said calmly. From the moment the head elder of the Jade Watersword sect had chosen to attack Honorable Xian Qi, the fate of the Jade Watersword sect had been decided. Then, the Jade Water sect master activated the sect guarding formation, allowing the Black Heaven sect cultivators to enter. No one dared to stop them. What happened next was much simpler. The Jadewater sect opened their treasure vault, library, secret realms, and various other resources for Chu Kuangren and the others to take as much as they wanted. This was the price they had to pay. From then on, the Honorable Orthodoxy Jadewater sect would be reduced to a vassal of the Black Heaven sect. This news caused quite a commotion. Vermilion Bird region. Inside the Linghu family's palace, a terrifying aura suddenly erupted. "Chu Kuangren, you and I are irreconcilable." The maids and servants in the palace were all kneeling on the ground, trembling in fear. They did not know why the young emperor was so furious. In the room, Linghu Tung's face was so gloomy that it looked like it was about to drip water. Although Chu Kuangren had only killed his clone, that clone was something that he had painstakingly refined through his blood, sweat, and tears. Yet now it had been destroyed by Chu Kuangren. More importantly, it had been destroyed with a single slap. This made him so frustrated that he almost vomited blood. "Chu Kuangren, just you wait." Inside the Jadewater sect, Chu Kuangren was resting with his eyes closed. It would take a few more days to reorganize the entire Jadewater sect. He needed to have a complete grasp of the various treasures and disciples. Of course, these were not Chu Kuangren's concerns. The next day, "Congratulations, host. You have drawn the legendary formation, the Four Seasons Sword Formation." Chu Kuangren's eyes lit up. A legendary formation? He retrieved the formation and a wave of enlightenment surged into his mind. Then, a joyful smile appeared on his face. What a powerful formation! The Four Seasons Sword Formation did not sound domineering, but its power was extremely terrifying and mysterious. After all, how could a legendary formation be simple? This formation was divided into 4 layers, namely the 4 seasons, the 12 months, the 24 solar terms, and the 365 days. It contained the mysteries of the changing seasons and the flow of time. The strength of this formation was also closely related to the user's cultivation level. The stronger the user's cultivation level, the more terrifying the formation's power. The 4 seasons require 4 swords to use, the 12 months require 12 swords, and so on. There are a total of 27 swords in the Sacred Emerald Sword Case, enough for me to use the 3rd layer. With this sword formation, my combat strength can increase again. Chu Kuangren murmured. He was wondering how to use so many swords in the sword case, but now he had drawn a sword formation. At that moment, someone knocked on the door. "Come in." A beautiful girl dressed in green walked in. Chu Kuangren frowned when he saw her. "Who are you?" "Master, my name is Lu Yen. The sect leader asked me to serve you." Lu Yen looked at Chu Kuangren and said affectionately. She suddenly realized that compared to Linghu Tang, be it looks, strength, or status, Chu Kuangren was much more outstanding. If she could get close to him, it would be much better than following Linghu Tang. "Serve me? I don't need it. You may leave." "Master, are you dissatisfied with Lu Yen?" "No, I just don't need it. But this is the sect leader's arrangement." If I leave just like this, the sect leader will definitely punish me. Lu Yen was on the verge of tears. Chu Kuangren frowned. Leave. I'll talk to the sect leader of the Emerald Water sect. She won't punish you. Lu Yen gritted her teeth and left. Before she left, she bumped into Lan Yu. When she saw the young girl's stunning beauty, she felt a sense of inferiority. It's no wonder he doesn't like me. He has such a beauty by his side. Lu Yen thought to herself as she looked at Lan Yu with a hint of hostility. She then lowered her head and left. Lan Yu frowned slightly. Master, who is she? She was sent by the Emerald Water sect leader to serve me. I rejected her. Chu Kuangren said nonchalantly. I see. Lan Yu murmured, secretly keeping an eye on him. In the next few days, Lan Yu noticed that Lu Yen often appeared before Chu Kuangren. She even built up a good relationship with the Black Heaven sect disciples, asking them about Chu Kuangren's hobbies and habits. Lan Yu understood now. This woman was trying to seduce her master. Although Chu Kuangren was not interested in Lu Yen, Lan Yu was still a little annoyed. Especially after she received a certain piece of news, she could not hold it in any longer. Miss Lan Yu, I've made some pastries for Master Chu. I wonder if he's around? Outside Chu Kuangren's room, Lu Yen smiled sweetly as she held a wooden box in her hand. Lan Yu looked at her coldly and said, Master is not here. You don't have to come here anymore. Chapter 176. Lu Yen was stunned. What do you mean, Miss Lan Yu? I know what you're thinking. My master is not someone you can touch. Whether it's status or looks, you're not worthy of him. So you better watch yourself. Lan Yu said coldly. Lu Yan's expression turned sour. Of course I know Master Chu is of high status, but is it wrong to like someone? I just like him, that's why I'm being nice to him. I don't understand. Miss Lan Yu, why do you think I have ulterior motives? I know you like Master Chu too, but just because you like him, does that mean others are not allowed to like him? Lu Yan's voice was forceful, as if she was fighting for her love. However, Lan Yu's gaze turned even colder. Gradually, a layer of frost covered her face. Shut up. Stop being so disgusting. First, everyone knows that my master is the fiancé of the Royal Azure Dynasty's fiancé. What you're doing is good to him. You're shameless enough to seduce a married man, yet you still dare to spout such nonsense. Second, you like my master? What about Ling Hu Teng? At the mention of Ling Hu Teng, Lu Yan's face turned pale. I heard that Ling Hu Teng came to Jadewater sect with his uncle, and within a few days you were already with him. What a cunning move. Now that Ling Hu Teng is gone, you're eyeing my master, aren't you? What do you take my master for? Is he your tool to climb up the social ladder? B*TCH. That was what Lan Yu could not stand. She respected Chu Kuangren like a god. So how could she stand by and watch someone else use him and sully him in the name of liking him? You, how dare you insult me? Lu Yen was shocked. Insult you? I'm going to hit you. Lan Yu took a step forward, raised his right hand and sent a slap flying. With a slap, the man fell to the ground. Don't let me see you around my master again. Otherwise, it won't be as simple as this slap, Lan Yu said coldly. Lu Yen lay on the ground, her face filled with hatred. Then, as if she had seen someone, the hatred in her eyes receded and was replaced with a pitiful look as she looked behind Lan Yu. Lan Yu sensed something and looked behind her. Chu Kuangren walked towards them with a cold expression. Young master, I came to give you some pastries, but I don't know why Miss Lan Yu suddenly hit me. Lu Yen sobbed. Chu Kuangren's expression turned even colder when he heard that. Upon seeing that, Lu Yen secretly rejoiced. It seemed that her hard work over the past few days had paid off. Now that she had been beaten up, Chu Kuangren must be distressed. Judging by his expression, he would probably punish Lan Yu next. As long as he could get rid of Lan Yu, would he still have to worry about not being able to seduce Chu Kuangren? Thinking of this, Lu Yen seemed even more pitiful. Coupled with her red and swollen cheeks, she looked quite pitiful. Young master. Lan Yu, how's your hand? Does it hurt? Chu Kuangren said as he held Lan Yu's hand. Green Smoke, who was lying on the ground, suddenly stiffened. What the hell? I'm the one who's getting beaten up. Fear gradually appeared in Lu Yan's eyes. She realized that the development of the situation was completely different from what she had imagined. Young master, Lan Yu wanted to say something, such as explaining why she was against Lu Yan. Chu Kuangren said calmly, I know everything. He looked at Lu Yan on the ground with a cold gaze as if he was looking at an ant. He said, I've warned you many times not to get close to me, but it's obvious that you didn't listen. This is the Jade Water Sword sect, so let the sect master handle this. Then, Chu Kuangren turned around and left with Lan Yu. Young master, I really like you. I'm willing to be your slave and serve you? Lu Yan yelled from behind. She even wanted to rush up and grab Chu Kuangren, but she was sent flying by an invisible sword chi. She looked at Chu Kuangren's departing figure unwillingly. Why won't you even give me a chance? Am I so worthless in your eyes? D*mn. Not long after, the Jade Water Sword sect's sect master arrived. She looked at Lu Yan's swollen cheeks and said, I've told you before that Chu Kuangren is not a man you can covet. The difference between you and him is like the difference between heaven and earth. Your little tricks might work on Ling Hutang, but rumor has it that Chu Kuangren's Taoist core is rare. How could he be fooled by you? Lu Yan was still unsatisfied. I've miscalculated. I didn't think that Lan Yu would suddenly attack me. Even without Lan Yu, it would still be the same. Forget it, from today onwards you shall leave the Jade Water Sword sect, the sect master said. Lu Yan's expression changed. Why? The Jade Water Sword sect is now a vassal of the Black Heaven sect. Since you've offended Chu Kuangren, I can't let you stay here any longer. Pack up and leave the mountain tomorrow, the sect master said mercilessly. After she left, Lu Yan, who had yet to recover from her shock, was left behind. Her eyes were filled with hatred. Chu Kuangren, Lan Yu. Soon, the matters at the Jade Water Sword sect were almost settled. Chu Kuangren had also brought the group back to the Black Heaven sect. Back at the Black Heaven sect, Chu Kuangren found Honorable Shen Qi and briefly told him about the reorganization of the Jade Water Sword sect. Yes, you've done well. There's one more thing I need to tell you. It's about the sword gauntlet, Honorable Shen Qi said with a smile. Sword gauntlet. Chu Kuangren's heart skipped a beat. He remembered that the Black Heaven third forefather had asked the Linghu clan for a slot to enter the sword gauntlet. Even the Linghu clan sage was heartbroken. It was obvious that the sword gauntlet was not as simple as it seemed. The sword gauntlet is located in the hidden sword canyon at the border between the Scarlet Phoenix domain and the Azure Dragon domain. Legend has it that it used to be a place of preaching for an ancient orthodoxy. There are records of countless swordsmen's sword techniques and other opportunities of fortune. It opens once every 10 years, and there are only 30 slots each time. The One Sword sect and the Mountain sect each take 5 slots, while the remaining 10 slots are left for the other swordsmanship forces. Now that the sword gauntlet is about to open, I'd like you to bring Morong Xian, Nangong Huang, and the others to the hidden sword canyon to enter the sword gauntlet. Chu Kuangren nodded slightly after he heard that. Sure. He was also very interested in the sword gauntlet. Moreover, there would probably be a lot of swordsmanship elites who would come to the sword gauntlet. It was a good opportunity for him to take a look. Also, when you return, prepare to take over my position as the Black Heaven sect's sect leader, Honorable Shen Qi said. Chu Kuangren was stunned for a moment. The seventh forefather was right. Honorable Shen Qi really wanted him to be the sect leader. Honorable teacher, can we talk about this? No. Honorable Shen Qi said firmly. No one is more suitable than you to be the sect leader. No, I've only been the elder senior brother for a few years, and you suddenly want me to take over as the sect leader. I'm under a lot of pressure. What kind of pressure? Tell me, I'll help you settle it. The main thing is that I'm still inexperienced, and I don't have enough prestige. I'm afraid I won't be able to convince the masses. Chu Kuangren quickly said. It doesn't matter if you're inexperienced. You'll have the help of the elders. As for prestige, do you believe that if I spread the news that you're going to be the sect leader, everyone in the Black Heaven sect will raise their hands in approval? Your prestige is already higher than mine, and that's still not enough, Honorable Xian Qi said impatiently. Is there anything else you want to say? Since you've already said everything, what else can I say? Chu Kuangren said helplessly. Chapter 177. On the way to the hidden Sword Canyon, Chu Kuangren sat on the ferry boat with his hand resting on his chin. He looked at the sea of clouds in front of him and sighed from time to time. Not far away, Murongxian, Nangong Huang, and the others were watching. This is the 6th time, Murongxian said. 6 sighs in an hour. Is big senior brother in trouble? Nangong Huang asked worriedly. It can't be, right? Eldest senior brother is so powerful. What kind of trouble could possibly stump him? Taoist Junyi was puzzled. Lan Yu happened to pass by them. Junyi hurriedly went up to her and asked, Lan Yu, do you know why senior brother sighed? Lan Yu pondered for a moment. Sigh! Everyone looked at each other. No, why are you sighing? Young master, have some fruits. Lan Yu brought a plate of fruits to Chu Kuangren's side. Okay. Nangong Huang and the others gathered around Murongxian. Under the crowds pushing and shoving, Murongxian reluctantly walked out and said, eldest senior brother, have you encountered some trouble recently? Trouble? No, I'm eating well, dressing well, cultivating smoothly, and I'm getting more and more handsome. There's no trouble at all. That's not right. If there isn't any trouble, then why are you sighing here? Junyi said. Oh, you're talking about this. Chu Kuangren came to a sudden realization. He then shook his head and sighed. Sigh, now that you mention it, I feel a little helpless. Tell me, I'm still so young, yet my honorable teacher wants me to be the sect leader. Isn't this just nonsense? Hearing this, the few of them were stunned. What? That's it? That's it? Just where did you sigh for 2 hours? After all, there were many people who wanted to become a sect leader but failed, let alone the sect leader of a sage orthodoxy. This was a supreme glory. However, Chu Kuangren now had a look of disdain on his face. This made Murongxian, Nangong Huang, and the others feel that it was ridiculous. I fully support eldest senior brother becoming the sect master. That's right. Be it prestige or strength, no one in the entire Black Heaven sect can compare to you, elder senior brother. It's only normal for you to be the sect leader. Nangong Huang and the others took it for granted. Upon seeing that, Chu Kuangren felt even more helpless. Is there a sect leader as young as me in this world? Hearing this, the crowd came back to their senses. Chu Kuangren was not even 20 years old this year. Not many sect leaders in the entire Firmament Star were as young as him. Not to mention being in charge of a sage orthodoxy. In that case, eldest senior brother might very well be the youngest leader of a sage orthodoxy in history. Heavens! This is way too impressive. Haha, as expected of eldest senior brother, you're amazing. Chu Kuangren was stunned. Why are you all more excited than me? Shouldn't you feel that it's inappropriate and then go back and ask the current sect leader not to pass the position to me? Sigh, I didn't expect that at such a young age. I would have to bear so much pressure in addition to being handsome that my age shouldn't have. Chu Kuangren looked up and let out a long sigh. Hidden Sword Gorge was located at the border between the Vermilion Bird region and the Azure Dragon region. It was said that this place was once the teaching ground of an ancient sword Dao orthodoxy. Even though it was in ruins now, the Dao aura of many sword cultivators remained here, so there was an endless stream of sword cultivators that came here to observe. Especially since the sword gauntlet was about to open, the number of people who came here to watch the show was 10 times more than usual. Soon, Chu Kuangren and the others arrived. So this is the Hidden Sword Gorge? It really lives up to its name. Nangong Huang said in admiration. The Hidden Sword Gorge was huge, and the rock walls on both sides of the gorge were engraved with sword scars that emanated all kinds of mysterious Taoist rhymes. To a sword cultivator, this place was like a holy land. The sword gauntlet is located in the deepest part of the gorge. Eldest senior brother, should we go check it out first? Morong Xian said. All right. Chu Kuangren nodded, and the group walked towards the depths of the hidden sword gorge. This group of people was very eye-catching, especially Chu Kuangren, who was leading the group at the front. His extraordinary temperament made him the center of attention no matter where he went. Soon, someone guessed their identity. It's the people from the Black Heaven sect. So they're here too. TSK. The person walking at the front is so extraordinary. He must be the legendary Chu Kuangren. It must be him. Rumor has it that this person has sparred with sages and even killed honorable supremes. His strength is terrifying. Among the sky prides in the firmament star, I'm afraid not many can be compared to this person. This person is also known as the most promising person to become an emperor. The crowd discussed among themselves. Chu Kuangren did not care at all. He was used to the feeling of being the center of attention. As long as they did not suddenly rush up to him, he could ignore them. Compared to the crowd's discussion, he was more concerned about the countless sword scars on both sides of the gorge. Some of these sword scars were very old, and the remnant Taoist rhymes were also very thin. However, some of the sword scars were very new, as if they were freshly carved. Along the way, Chu Kuangren saw a sword cultivator who was trying to understand a sword scar. Then, he felt something and waved his sword, leaving a sword scar on the rock wall. It seems that the sword scars in this gorge are increasing by the minute, Chu Kuangren murmured. However, it was a pity that although there were many sword scars here, only a few of them could do anything to Chu Kuangren. Chu Kuangren's understanding of Dao techniques, especially sword Dao, was so deep that even an ordinary sage could not surpass him. The sword scars on the gorge were, at most, left behind by honorable supremes. How could they be of any use to him? I only hope that the sword gauntlet can give me some surprises, Chu Kuangren murmured. Gradually, Chu Kuangren felt an incredibly mysterious Taoist rhyme coming from the front. Then he saw a tall black building. The building was 99 feet tall and had a total of 50 floors. It had sharp edges and was as straight as a sword. At the entrance of the building, there was a plaque with the words, Sword Gauntlet, engraved on it. Every stroke of the plaque looked as if it was carved by a sword, and it exuded an incredibly cold sword-based Taoist rhyme. The Taoist rhyme that Chu Kuangren felt from afar was emitted from these two words. It was just two words, but it far surpassed the countless sword scars in the gorge. Chu Kuangren stared at the two words. In a trance, he seemed to see a white-robed man performing a sword dance in front of him, and sword chi surged in all directions. Chu Kuangren's body trembled slightly as his sword-based Taoist rhyme emanated and rushed towards the two words. It was as if he had crossed countless years to clash with the white-robed man across time and space. When the two sword-based Taoist rhymes met and collided, the entire hidden sword canyon shook. The Taoist rhymes on the countless sword scars on the walls were disrupted, and some of the weaker ones even collapsed. Hence, everyone was shocked as they did not know what was happening. Only a few strong swordsman cultivators who were closer to the sword gauntlet noticed something as they stared at Chu Kuangren's back in horror. He's resonating with the sword gauntlet's Taoist rhyme. This situation is like two great sword sages sparring in front of us. How did Chu Kuangren do it? The rumors are true. This person can really spar with a sage. So this is the sword gauntlet. This trip was not in vain. Chu Kuangren smiled and retracted his gaze. The sword-based Taoist rhyme around him dissipated, and he no longer looked at the two words. Chapter 178. Outside the sword gauntlet, Chu Kuangren crossed swords with the nameless swordsman who wrote the words, Sword Gauntlet. The Taoist rhymes that they released affected the entire hidden sword canyon. Everyone who witnessed this scene was extremely shocked. Some of the strong sword cultivators pondered for a while before they went up to greet him. Rumor has it that the Black Heaven sect's lead disciple is extraordinary. It seems that you are indeed extraordinary. I'm the Sword Spectrum's 61 Moon Chaser sword. Greetings. Haha, Black Heaven Sect's lead disciple. I'm Li Jun. Black Heaven Sect's lead disciple. We've met before in Sword Prayer City. Brother Chu, I trust you've been well. The sword cultivators outside the sword gauntlet greeted Chu Kuangren one by one. They seemed very enthusiastic, unwilling to let go of the opportunity to make friends with Chu Kuangren. Chu Kuangren smiled and greeted them one by one politely. It was obvious that he was already familiar with this kind of scene. At that moment, a figure entered the crowd. It was a middle-aged man in a luxurious robe. Unlike the other sword cultivators, he had a kind of merchant aura about him. He smiled at Chu Kuangren and said, "Brother Chu, based on past experience, the sword gauntlet will only open in a few days. If you don't mind, why don't you stay at my place for a while?" I'm Qian Fugui. I've opened a famed sword inn in the hidden sword canyon. It specializes in providing food and shelter for sword cultivators. Oh, Chu Kuangren was slightly surprised. Then I'll do as you say. Come, fellow Taoists from the Black Heaven Sect, please follow me. Qian Fugui yelled and led the way. The surrounding sword cultivators could not help but discuss among themselves. TSK, this Qian Fugui sure moves fast. He's already hooked up with Chu Kuangren, as expected of a businessman. Of course, who do you think Chu Kuangren is? He's the #1 in the 100-sword spectrum. If we can build a good relationship with someone like him, there's nothing to lose. Along the way, Qian Fugui introduced Chu Kuangren and the others to the various sceneries in the hidden sword canyon, especially where the most mysterious sword scars were the easiest to understand. He was very familiar with the hidden sword canyon. Brother Qian, do you live in the hidden sword canyon? That's not it. I just opened a restaurant here and hired a few people to look after it. However, every time the sword tower opens, it's also the time when business is at its peak. So I come over to take a look personally. Over time, I became familiar with the hidden sword gorge. Chu Kuangren finally understood. I see. When they arrived at Qian Fugui's restaurant, everyone couldn't help but be surprised. But how was this a restaurant? This was clearly a royal palace. Rows upon rows of pavilions rose from the ground, covering a vast area that was comparable to the White Jade Hotel that Chu Kuangren had been to in the past. To be able to open such a restaurant here, the amount of manpower and resources required was definitely not ordinary. Moreover, it was even more difficult to guard this restaurant. If one was not careful, they might even bring about a fatal disaster. This Qian Fugui was not simple. Chu Kuangren activated his Eye of Revelation and glanced at his opponent. Qian Fugui, the owner of the Fugui firm. He controls 1/10 of the Firmament Star's Spirit Stone reserves, and his businesses are spread across the 4 domains of the firmament. When he saw the feedback from the Eye of Revelation, Chu Kuangren's mouth twitched. It was the owner of the Fugui Trading Company. The Fugui Trading Company was the largest trading company in Firmament Star. They could be found in almost every industry that could earn soulstones. However, no one knew who the owner was. But now, such a person was standing in front of him? He had to admit that it was really a coincidence. Qian Fugui arranged a few rooms for Chu Kuangren and the others. All they had to do now was to wait for the sword gauntlet to open. Chu Kuangren, I'm Murong Feiyu. I'm here to learn from you. Today, a voice came from outside the famed sword restaurant. A man in a black robe with a long sword in his hand was standing outside the famed sword restaurant. His voice echoed throughout the restaurant. All the sword cultivators noticed and quickly looked over. When they heard the name of the person, they could not help but be shocked. It's him, Murong Feiyu. Oh, this name sounds familiar. I think he's the honorable swordsman who's ranked 71st in the sword spectrum. He's from the Murong family. The Murong family of the Black Warrior domain. One of the 1 mountain, 1 sect, and 2 families. Looks like we're in for a good show. The sword cultivators in the restaurant were watching the situation unfold. Nangong Huang and the others heard the voice too. They looked at Murong Feiyu outside the door with displeasure in their eyes. Who is this person? How dare he challenge elder senior brother? He's ranked 71st in the sword spectrum. My goodness, How dare he challenge elder senior brother who's ranked first? Where did he get the guts from? Not everyone knows what elder senior brother is capable of. Most people think that elder senior brother is ranked first in the sword spectrum because his descendant self-sword has merged with a sword soul, giving him an advantage. That's why they're unhappy with elder senior brother. This person must be one of them. Nangong Huang said slowly. Beside him, Murong Xian looked at Murong Feiyu with a strange look in his eyes. He looked a little unnatural. What's wrong with you? Nangong Huang noticed that something was wrong with Murong Xian and could not help but be surprised. No, nothing. Murong Xian shook his head and continued. Murong Feiyu's strength is not ordinary. He became an honorable many years ago and cultivates the Murong clan's fiery sword technique. Its power is enough to burn rivers and boil seas. He's also an expert in the Murong clan. However, this is not the most troublesome thing. The most troublesome thing is that the person behind this person is the Murong clan's young emperor, Murong Yu. Murong Xian suddenly realized that Nangong Huang and the others were looking at him strangely. He immediately stopped and asked, "What's wrong with you guys?" Murong Xian, why are you so familiar with the Murong clan? Wait, your surname is also Murong. Could it be? I have nothing to do with the Murong clan. Murong Xian said resolutely. The crowd responded and did not pursue the matter. Murong Xian also came back to his senses. He knew that his firm denial just now was rather revealing. He said, "These are matters of the swordsmanship world. As sword cultivators, shouldn't we know more about it? We're in the Azure Dragon domain while the Murong clan is in the Black Warrior domain. We're so far away. Who would know so much about it?" Jun Yi murmured. "Look, it's Miss Lan Yu," Nangong Huang said. Lan Yu slowly walked out of the restaurant with a sword in her arms. She stopped in front of Murong Feiyu and said, "So you're the one who challenged Master?" Murong Feiyu stared at the sword in Lan Yu's arms with a fiery gaze. "I'm the one who challenged Chu Kuangren. Miss, the sword in your arms is very extraordinary. Can I have a look at it?" Lan Yu shook her head. "No, this is Master's sword." "Oh, where's Chu Kuangren now?" "Master is still meditating, but you're too noisy, so he asked me to bring my sword out. He said that he'll show himself if you can take a blow from him. He's not here, so how can I use my sword? Is he messing with me?" Murong Feiyu said coldly, "I can use my sword." Lan Yu said calmly. Then the descendant's self-sword in her arms trembled slightly. With a clang, half of its jade-like body was revealed, and a terrifying sword-based Taoist rhyme emanated. You're tuning in to the Legend of the Vagabond YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.